the full-time mage. The extreme lightning. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 701, Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor. On the sea, Tang Mao looked at the killing jade in his hand and muttered, "It seems that the trip to Kunlun will have to wait again." Buzz. As if to understand what Tang Mao said, Kilin gave some subtle responses. If it weren't for the death and disability of his ancestors, he would have prepared to go to Kunlun Mountain a long time ago. Not only to find Kilin's other half, but more importantly, it is very difficult for Tang Mao to make further progress with his current strength. After the second level of the superclass, it feels that his Stasi is not expanding very fast, but he is not without any gains. At least in recent times, the galaxy of the summoning system has also shown signs of expansion, and it seems that it is about to break through the barriers and reach the superclass at any time. There is nothing outstanding about the high-level summoning system, but when the summoning system reaches a superclass, the magic will also change a lot. Even if it is the demon summoned by oneself, the strength can also be supplied by the energy of the Stasi, achieving the effect of temporary strengthening. Another important point is that once the summoning system reaches a superclass, he can finally awaken new magic. At his level, it doesn't matter what magic system he awakens. The difference is that with one more system, his power will be increased by who knows how many times. Once the super level awakens 3 systems here, plus the demon system, he will be a man with 11 magic systems. If all the 11 magic systems are cultivated to the super level, with their thunder and fire that surpass the destructive output of super level magic power, even the forbidden spell mage may not be able to see it. Therefore, Tang Mao has also given special care to the summoning system in recent days. With Fei Lion as a means of transportation, it takes less than half a day to go to Japan. He set out in the morning and arrived at Shuangshao Pavilion with Apis at noon. Of course, when he arrived near here, Fei Lion was taken back into the totem vessel. He did not choose to step on Fei Lion to go to Shuangshao Pavilion, one to keep a low profile, and the other to avoid attracting any sea monsters. Although the monarch level monsters are already not good enough. However, what age are there in the sea? They are not disturbed by anything. Except for natural enemies, they are almost resting and recuperating peacefully. Just like the time when he went to the volcanic islands, the monarch felt a little bit like a younger brother, the great monarch, the supreme monarch. Even if they didn't know much about the forbidden areas of human beings, some people had been there. However, for the deep sea, except for knowing that there was a sea monster empire in the sea, nothing else was known. You know, the area of the ocean is much larger than the land. Who knows what monsters are in the deeper sea? It can be said that the monsters bred by the ocean are definitely the real nightmare of mankind. However, the ocean is so big, not all sea monsters like to attack the land. Even the sea monsters of the Sea Monster Empire seem to have attacked China because of some conspiracy, right? Shaking his head, Tang Mao was too lazy to think about it carefully. When he came to the periphery of Shuangshao Pavilion, he looked at the dense sea monsters in the sea area, and he was slightly stunned. This number is indeed a bit too much. No wonder Mochizuki Kyanksen asked for help. The battle seemed to be extremely fierce. The people in Shuangshao Pavilion had no time to deal with the sea monster corpses? Tang Mao teleported to the outside of Shuangshao Pavilion. There were almost no guards outside. It seemed that the situation was much more serious than he had imagined. Tang Mao came to the upper pavilion of the west pavilion without any obstacles. The guards of Shuangshao Pavilion were lying on the ground one by one, and they seemed to be resting. Even though they were all mages, they didn't notice Tang Mao coming? The West Pavilion is actually a mountain fortress. To the east is a sea of demons that does not belong to Osaka. Tang Mao glanced at the sea, explored it quietly, and after confirming that there were no sea monsters nearby, he walked towards the depths. When he walked to the command post, he saw Wang Gaiu Mingjian staring at the sea with red eyes. Wang Gaiu Kyanksen was sleeping soundly on the chair next to him. "It seems that you are in big trouble," Tang Mao said in a light voice. Hearing the sound, Wang Gaimingjian paused slightly, and then he realized that Tang Mao was here. Because he had been here for too long, even as a superclass mage, he was a little overwhelmed. After a month of offensive and defensive battles, the old man who had hardly slept looked as if he had aged many years. Tang boy, I didn't expect you to come so soon. Wang Gaimingjian was still a little surprised when he saw Tang Mao. After all, he didn't expect that Tang Mao had recovered so quickly after being so seriously injured before. If it were an ordinary person, it would be difficult for him to get out of bed after a year or two, right? Well, from Kyangson's tone, I knew that the trouble you encountered should be quite big. However, I didn't expect that there would be no guards left. Alas, now guarding here to prevent the sea monster from setting foot is the top priority. As for other things, I can't care about so much now. Wang Gaimingjian shook his head and said, the supervision of the prisoners in Shuangshao Pavilion is certainly important, but once the West Shao Pavilion is lost, Shuangshao Pavilion will no longer exist. Kyangson is a very proud child. If it weren't for the fact that this time it was really tricky, she wouldn't have asked you for help. Tang Mao shrugged and didn't respond. Instead, he asked, what's the situation with these sea monsters? Can you tell me in detail? When we went to look for people near the volcanic islands, they were targeted by the overlord there. When I rushed to help, the false Emperor Jiao didn't intend to attack us. It seemed that he had noticed something. Wang Gaimingjian said this and sighed slightly. Who knows, it's not the most terrifying. The terrifying thing is that the one released by it was actually the demon emperor nine-tailed fox that our ancestors had sealed together. After it was released, all the sirens in the volcanic archipelago were ruled by it, and the sirens began to attack the coastline frantically from then on. But at that time, it was only the sirens in the volcanic archipelago. After I found some information about it, I reported it to the country. The country sent a full 10 masters, 3 of whom were forbidden spell mages, and the remaining 7 were superclass perfect mages who wanted to seal it up again while it was just unsealed. In that battle, almost the entire coastline of Japan was hit by floods. In the end, only 2 forbidden spell mages escaped alive. Although they injured the nine-tailed fox, they failed to seal it. As for the other adults, they were all killed in that battle. However, after that battle, the coastline was stable for a while, but I didn't expect that this was just the calm before the storm. It once appeared in person and announced to the whole of Japan to hand over our land. This will become its demon empire. After Wang Gaimingjian talked for a while, Tang Mao understood. It was this nine-tailed fox that revived, and then was extremely dissatisfied with being sealed, so it commanded all the sea monsters in the nearby sea area, and then launched a fierce attack on Japan. The other party was originally a big monster that lived on this land. The humans who protected it attacked it and sealed it, turning it from a guardian beast into a demon emperor. Well, in addition to what Wang Gaimingjian said before, it seems that he didn't know that it was actually Muningxu's arrow that shot through a weak defense zone, so the nine-tailed fox took the opportunity to escape, right? As for the reason why the Jiaohuang pseudo-emperor didn't attack them, it was probably because he noticed the existence of the nine-tailed fox and wanted to suck its source power, but in the end, it was probably a loss. With the energy of a pseudo-emperor to make a tonic soup, the other party recovered some strength, and there were forbidden spell mages and superclass mages sent by Japan. Now this fox is probably already recovered. For demons, human mages are the best tonic. Otherwise, why would demons target humans? Chapter 702. Maybe not ideal. The reason why Wang Gaimingjian couldn't sleep for a long time was that he was afraid that when he woke up, Japan would have fallen into the demon empire. He still admired the old man's professionalism, although he might have his own selfishness. But how can a person be without selfishness? But selfishness is selfishness. At least, the Shuangshao Pavilion guarded by Wang Gaimingjian has not allowed the demons to advance so far. Not all coastlines are like Shuangshao Pavilion. Some places have been breached. Moreover, the demons controlled by the nine-tailed demon fox are not just sea demons. Even some land demons are commanded by it. At present, Japan is almost everywhere in war. However, the nearby powers are not having a good time. For a while, there is no way to provide timely rescue. As the protectors of mankind, the magic associations of several continents naturally cannot stand idly by. But it is obvious that help and reinforcement cannot come for a while. Although it is said to hold on for 7 days, after 7 days, if the reinforcement are just perfunctory, then this place will probably be wiped off the map in the future. There are too many monsters, and especially on the coastline, the Japanese military has suffered heavy losses. With a commander, the combat power of the originally powerful sea monsters has almost doubled. Then have you ever thought about what to do if the reinforcements sent to you by the magic associations of several continents are not so ideal? Tang Mao said what he was thinking. It's not that he thinks the magic associations of several continents are cold-blooded. It's just that at this time, no matter which powerful country, almost all of them are in continuous wars. Several major powers are close to the sea, and some land countries, although there are no such tragic wars, they also have their own difficulties. In the case of scarce resources, let alone help, it is difficult to defend their own land. There are indeed many masters in the magic associations of several continents, and even the number of old monsters is not small. However, apart from the fact that these people have been pampered for a long time, who would listen to whose command and come here to help? In his opinion, this is almost impossible. Wang Guimingjian was slightly stunned. He seemed to have never thought about this problem at all. If the reinforcement are not ideal, then they are just waiting for destruction. If they stay here, no, the Asian Magic Association will not allow the countries they control to lose one of them. Wang Guimingjian shook his head and denied. Maybe no one from other continents manages here, but the Asian Magic Association will never give up. This is not a small country. Moreover, among the top mages in various fields in the world, there are mages. Anyway, I just said that, and you just listened to it. I'm here to help. If you need anything, just tell me. However, I can only promise to do my best. If things can't be done, I will take Kayangsan away. Tang Mao continued. Wang Guimingjian has known Tang Mao for more than the first day. He also knows very well that Tang Mao is not joking. But Tang Mao is just here to help after all, and saying that he has done his best is already a great favor. Naturally, he had nothing to say. He nodded and saluted. I beg Mr. Tang Mao to take good care of Kayangsan in the future. Although he was unwilling to accept this reality, sometimes, he still had to prepare for the worst. By the way, do you have only 3 forbidden spell masters in your country? Tang Mao asked puzzledly. Although forbidden spells are an extremely difficult measure to cross, there are still thousands of forbidden spell masters in a population of billions. And such a big country, which is always showing off its 2.58 million people, is it a bit unreasonable to have only 3 forbidden spells? However, to deal with the demons at the Emperor level, only 3 forbidden spells were dispatched. Isn't this a free gift? The Emperor is the Emperor after all. Any demon that has surpassed the top of the Supreme Monarch is almost a dragon. The reason why it is called a dragon is that the real dragon is born to be a creature that can easily surpass the Emperor level. Therefore, other demons who step into the realm of the Emperor are equivalent to dragons. And after the Emperor, they can already be called gods. But demons of this level should no longer exist. If there were, the 1/3 acre of land occupied by humans would have been flattened long ago, right? Wang Guimingjian sighed slightly, and then said, of course there are more than 3 forbidden spell masters in the country, but if a forbidden spell master takes action, it needs to be reported to the international community. I think you also know how much destruction a forbidden spell magic will cause to the casting area, right? Then don't you look at what level of demons you are facing? Hearing him say this, Tang Mao felt that the brains of this smaller high level people might be out of control, right? A middle level supreme monarch almost requires several super level perfect mages to kill. And the invincible monarch can even shake the existence of the forbidden spell master. At the emperor level, it is even more unknown how many forbidden spells are needed to kill it together. Of course, some particularly outstanding beings in various fields may be able to shake the primary emperor in the forbidden spell realm, but that also requires 2 to 3 series of forbidden spells, right? The 9-tailed fox emperor is almost a mythical existence here. Naturally, their strength will not be weak. If they go to fight with only 3 forbidden spells, wouldn't that be courting death? His Majesty the Emperor is also upset and regretful about this, but things have already happened, said Mochizuki Mingjian, shaking his head. Ring, 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 buzz. At this moment, the alarm bell rang, and the instrument, that detected a large number of sea monsters approaching, made a loud noise almost at the same time. Mochizuki Mingjian instantly stared at the sea surface with full vigilance. Similarly, Mochizuki Chiksen, who was sleeping soundly, also climbed up immediately. Seeing that her eyes were slightly swollen, Tangmao instantly walked to her side and stopped her from getting up. Take a rest for a while, you'll be fine with me here. Mochizuki Chiksen was still happy to see Tangmao coming. After hearing what he said, she felt even warmer. Looking at Tangmao, with thousands of words to say, only one was left and the last few. Tangmao gently supported her soft back and let her sleep peacefully. Because of the large number of people coming, the West Guard Pavilion was naturally very noisy. The sound of the guards hurriedly getting up and rushing to their posts, the sound of the messenger. In this regard, he set up a space barrier for Wang Kaiangsen. His woman, in such a state, of course, made him feel distressed. After doing everything, Tangmao returned to the place where Wang Mingjian observed the sea monster. Chapter 703, The Siren Attacks. Wang Mingjian did not notice what Tangmao did. His eyes were fixed on the dense sea monsters that kept swimming here and the rising sea water. Tangmao did not do it for him to see, which was not important. After coming here, Tangmao saw that the sea monsters were less than 100 meters away from the attack distance of the mages of the West Guard Pavilion. The guards everywhere were also exhausted and ready for battle, but the number of people was pitifully small. There was no way. The magic power of the magician was not unlimited, and it took enough time to recover. Therefore, the defense here was divided into 4 waves, until the first wave of human and magic power was exhausted, and then the second wave was replaced. With the resistance of the barrier here, it was barely able to survive so many days. Otherwise, relying only on these guarding mages to resist, Xuanshao Pavilion would have become a paradise for sea monsters long ago. Of course, the highest level of the leader who came here to attack was the commander level sea monster. The monarch level sea monster has never appeared. Otherwise, even if there is a barrier restriction, what can it do? A sea monster in the sea, with the help of the power of the sea, is almost equivalent to a land monarch or two. Of course, bloodline is still more important, and it also depends on what kind of monarch level creature it is. However, the strength of most sea monsters is still completely overwhelming the land monarch. Nah. The first sea monster to appear is always the redling monster. This kind of sea monster seems to be the real big tribe. No matter where the sea battlefield is, you can always see their shadow. After the redling monster is the back crab. This kind of sea monster has strong combat power in the water, but when it comes to land, it is almost an extremely weak existence. However, with the power of seawater, they can completely arm themselves into a giant stone cannonball. Breaking the defense in the sea is almost their credit. After the redling monsters walked on the waves and came to a designated location, they began to release magic. One after another, sea pillars soared into the sky. Under the combined efforts of hundreds of redling monsters, the huge sea pillars were completed, which was completely equivalent to a high-level magic. Hua hua. Bang. The moment the water column hit the barrier shook violently. But because the opponent was too far away from them, the guarding mages could only watch without any chance to attack. However, a higher level magic naturally could not cause any harm to the forbidden barrier. Swish, 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 swish. The water column continued to impact, and at the same time, huge spheres condensed from seawater collided with it. Swish, 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 swish. Swish. At the moment of impact, the power of the restriction was also exerted. The creatures in the seawater sphere were naturally the back crabs. They were not afraid of death, and came to attack the restriction, just to offset the power in it. And their shells were relatively thick, and with the help of the power of the water element, even the restriction could not kill them immediately. And then, more and more back crabs flew over, just like this to offset the power of the restriction here? Question mark? This sea monster is so good at playing now? Tangmao looked at this scene blankly. Damn, the sea monster knows tactics. Shouldn't this be a mindless charge? Question mark? Yes. They are no longer as fierce as before. Wang Guimingji inside. Why don't you order an attack and wait for them to kill you? Tang Mao said again. The first ban can't hold out for long. And the damage to the sea monsters in this range is almost negligible. So, it's better to wait for them to rush over and then attack them than to waste magic energy in vain. Although this can kill more sea monsters, it will also cause a lot of casualties. So, after looking at Tang Mao's strange eyes, Wang Guimingjian explained again, I believe you can see that our magic energy has only recovered a little. There will always be sacrifices in war. Maybe one day it won't be just my subordinates, I may also die here, but as the commander-in-chief here, what I need to do is to guard this place at all costs and defend our land. Seeing Wang Guimingjian's look of fearlessness, Tang Mao paused slightly. Unfortunately, he is not the kind of person who can be assimilated by male emotions. Therefore, he respectfully gave them the opportunity to achieve the spirit of Bushido. He would not take action unless it was absolutely necessary. When the situation forced him, he would definitely leave without hesitation. At this time, Apis turned around and walked over. After looking at the dense sea monsters, she suddenly realized something was wrong. Then she looked at Tang Mao and transmitted the message. There is a kind of mind magic in the minds of these sea monsters. It seems that there is a strong demon controlling them, but in my perception, there are no strong sea monsters nearby. I knew it a long time ago. If I guessed correctly, it should be that fox who did it. Tang Mao naturally noticed this, but he did not act rashly. Because once their mental connection was destroyed, it is very likely to provoke a stronger sea monster monarch. As long as it is not a mid-level supreme sea monster, he will not panic. But he is afraid that, if he cuts off their connection, it will attract the attention of the nine-tailed fox emperor. He is just here to play, not to provoke the emperor-level creatures. He has never liked to do such stupid things that are not good for him. Na. While the back crabs continued to resist the forbidden energy, the sea monsters finally broke through the first line of defense. The redling monster, the green redfish monster, and some sea monkey monsters rushed here. Everyone get ready. Wang Guimingjian roared, and almost all the guards of the West Guard Pavilion heard it clearly. Ice Magician, freeze the sea surface. Wind Magician, cut their distance. Thunder Magician Thunderbolt. After Wang Guimingjian gave orders one after another, the mages at various positions in the West Guard Pavilion completed the depiction of the star map one by one. The overall strength of the West Guard Pavilion is still not weak. Among the thousands of sea monsters that have just arrived here, nearly 200 of them were directly frozen and restricted from moving. The Wind Magician had a big reunion with the sea monsters behind. Then, the Thunder Magicians emerged and hit the deadly blow. The destructive power of thunder magic is among all kinds of magic. Naturally, it is extremely powerful. Before higher level magic, lightning is almost equivalent to the strongest means of destruction. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 704, One Person for 1 Hour, Rewards for Extra Updates. Moreover, since so many people were working together to cast the spell, its power was naturally comparable to that of higher level magic. In an instant, nearly half of the sirens in front were killed. Although the remaining half were not dead, before they could make any moves, the second wave of thunder successively bombarded 2 intermediate level magic spells, and more than 200 sirens all lay on the ice. The sirens that were cut off at the back, after blocking the attack of the wind disc, rushed here again one after another. The casualties caused by the wind disc were not great, but no one thought about how much damage they could cause by relying on a few intermediate level wind magic. Some sirens moved forward, while others began to break the ice. It seemed that they did not like this kind of ice. When there were only a few dozen of them approaching here, these mages naturally used simple elementary magic. Although the power was far less than that of intermediate level magic, with so many people working together, they could still kill a lot of sirens in this group of sirens. Since the sirens were not killed, they naturally started to fight back immediately. The light mages took the lead in casting the mid-level light shield. Most of the sea monsters were warrior level creatures. Although the seawater here was frozen, the primary defense still did not play a big role. The two sides were like playing a turn-based game. You attack, I defend, you fight, I resist. But the difference was that the number of sea monsters was endless. The defense mages had limited magic power, so they could only keep them out of the West Guard Pavilion. Within half an hour, there were thousands of warrior level sea monsters outside the West Guard Pavilion. Although the ice layer continued to hold, it had already been torn apart by so many sea monsters. Seeing this, Wang Gaimingjian stood on the high side of the West Guard Pavilion and rushed down with a super level water magic catastrophe water roar. The thousands of sea monsters were almost wiped out in the blink of an eye. After a full hour of resistance, Wang Gaimingjian only needed to make one move to clear the field. However, these guarding mages did not cheer much, as if they were used to it. You can hold on until now, relying on this method? Tang Mao looked at Wang Gaimingjian, who was exhausted after releasing a wave of superclass magic. He himself did not have enough magic power, and the release of a superclass magic made him look extremely weak. If we don't obey, the West Guard Pavilion will be lost. Wang Gaimingjian sighed. Have you never thought about using the criminals imprisoned in the rear? Tang Mao said again. No, it's impossible. They are all unforgivable criminals, and they must not be released. Wang Gaimingjian heard this, and immediately refused sternly. Tang Mao shrugged and said nothing. In addition to Wang Gaimingjian, there are also Wang Gaikaiangsen and several National Hall instructors and the superclass mages in the Shuangshao Pavilion. Afterwards, they did the same thing, but it was not just Wang Gaimingjian who took action, but also the National Hall instructors they had met before. Unconsciously, they had held out for 5 hours. Some of the garrison mages were killed or injured, so a new team came. However, after looking at the monsters piled up under the city, Wang Gaimingjian looked at Wang Gaikaiangsen behind him very weakly. It seemed that she was too tired, and Tang Mao had set up a space barrier, so she was not affected. Then, he looked at Tang Mao again. Our magic power is limited. Next, I hope you can clean up once. When Wang Gaimingjian looked at Wang Gaikaiangsen, he knew what he meant. Moreover, he came to help. He had been watching the show for so long, so he should do something. Apart from anything else, he was actually a little itchy. After all, it was meaningless to abuse Zhu Xiangshan, and in the battle with Zubo, that fool chose to defend. After not fighting for so long, he felt uncomfortable all over. I'll help you for an hour, and you can let your subordinates have a good rest. Tang Mao responded. You are alone. Wang Gaimingjian knew that Tang Mao's strength had grown very fast in the past few years, but looking at the sea monsters that kept rushing up, there were still 6 or 7,000 of them, and there were even several commander level sea monsters. It was a joke for him to defend the West Guard Pavilion alone. Because the war here was ongoing, Wang Gaimingjian didn't know what was happening in China. Tang Mao didn't explain too much, but took a step and came to the surface of the sea. With a slight step under his feet, the ice layer that seemed to be about to break just now froze again in an instant, and the frozen area in front of him was many times larger than the frozen area of hundreds of garrison mages before. The most important point is that he didn't see him take action, just stomped his feet, and there was such an effect. It was a bit shocking. Oh my god, who is that? Is he going to fight the sea monster? What a powerful ice attribute. In the diagonal attic of the moon watching guard, a slightly charming woman saw Tang Mao and said to Xinzi, who was meditating there, "Teacher, the boy who came out of the attic is from the Huax national team, right?" After hearing what Xiaoqi Shoko said, Fujikata Xinzi also stood up and came here to look outside. Is this the demon student who fought with Kaiangsen and defeated her? Why did he come to Shuangshao Pavilion? Fujikata Xinzi also recognized Tang Mao immediately. After all, this guy beat the instructor as a student. The most important thing is that this guy is the first place in the national competition. Teacher, I mean, didn't you see him standing on the sea? Xiaoqi Shoko reminded. Does he want to fight the sea monsters head on? Is he crazy? There are many sea monsters at the commander level now. Fujika Tanabuko was secretly sighing at Tangmao's powerful control of ice, but now she realized that this kid was so stupid that he didn't stay up there and went down to die. Boom. Just when she wanted to speak to stop him, she saw Tangmao casually waving a thunderbolt. In an instant, hundreds of sea monsters became charred corpses and fell on the ice without any reaction. This. Fujika Tanabuko opened her mouth, but she didn't know how to feel at the moment. Could this be the damage caused by intermediate magic? Question mark. That's right, what Tangmao cast was just a thunderbolt. Even if it was a high-level thunderbolt, it was still an intermediate magic, but the destructive power caused by this intermediate magic was almost more destructive than the thunder magic caused by all the thunder mages and their defense magicians combined. How could she not be surprised? How could she not be shocked? Question mark. Chapter 705. This is high-level magic. Xianachi Xiangzi didn't want to say anything. As a person of the same age, she was already several times stronger than many of her peers. However, compared with Tangmao, she was just an ordinary person. Oh my god, is he a god? Is that really magic just now? Is that a mid-level thunder dance? No illusion. It must be a high-level magic just now. Several super-level mages swept tens of thousands of sea monsters, but they didn't make a fuss about it. However, Tangmao's move obviously made them pretend. After all, it is rare for a mid-level magic to cause such a great destructive power. Tangmao didn't care about the surprise and shock of the people in the Westgard Pavilion. These people were a little surprised. Even though hundreds of sea monsters were killed or injured, they still had no intention of retreating. Instead, they stopped breaking the ice and sped up one by one, rushing towards Tangmao. Wind Disc. Tangmao's mouth corners slightly raised. For these ignorant little demons who came to give themselves up, he would naturally accept them all. After all, this is a large amount of residual souls and essences. Now he no longer needs to sell essences for money. For him, the only use of essences is to become stronger. Whether it is the strengthening of stars or the consumption of using demons, it requires a lot of essences. Although there are demon beads, but without the beads that collect energy, isn't it a waste? In the end, it still depends on the energy of essences to fill this empty hole. The sirens don't care much about the swelling breeze. Not only do they have no intention of retreating, but they rush straight up anyway. Sandstorm. After seeing that the wind disc has been arranged, Tangmao's hands condensed. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. For a moment, a strong wind immediately blew. Na 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 woo woo woo. The sirens that were blown up in this tornado were almost like being in a storm blade formation. The moment they were rolled in, they immediately felt their scales being broken. Without the protection of the scales, they were naturally torn into pieces. A commander who was also caught in it felt that his scales seemed to be broken at any time. Exclamation mark. Bang. The siren commander stepped on the ice with his huge hoof. He wanted to break the ice and use the water to break through the storm. But this ice layer seemed to have been frozen for thousands of years, and there was no intention of breaking at all. As the strong wind continued to roll, soon the sirens who had not set foot on the ice on the sea were all rolled in. Seeing the 4,000 or 5,000 sirens being rolled in, Tangmao awakened Xiao Fengji. Fusion. He and Xiao Fengji had practiced fighting with possession before. There was no accident. And this battle fusion with Xiao Fengji was the first time. Although his wind system has reached the super level, and the wind star has been strengthened, the wind system also has powerful earth element energy, but if he only uses high level magic, he may not be able to kill the leader creature in it. However, with the fusion of Xiao Fengji who has reached the leader level, his wind system advantage is not just speed. Wings of wind, strangulation. Originally, the sirens were just cut by a knife in the violent sandstorm. After Tangmao completed the wind constellation, it was like being chopped by a knife every minute and every second. Puff puff puff. The war general level sirens were dismembered almost instantly. The commander level sirens also immediately realized the seriousness of the matter. Even many sirens who could move, because of their huge size, wanted to escape. Tangmao gave them the feeling that this was almost not an operation that a person should have. However, after entering this wind circle, is there still a chance to escape? Before they ran to the wind wall, they had already dropped a lot of scales. When they arrived at the wind wall, they found that they were bleeding! Exclamation mark. Without scales, their defense was almost equal to 0. However, Tang Mao was somewhat surprised that Meng insisted on reaching the wind wall. At the same time, he was slightly dissatisfied with the destructive power of his wind magic. Under the same level of magic, with elemental pets, or the wind magic with 49 5-level stars, it was not able to kill several commanders in seconds. Windblade, cut. Although he was unhappy, he couldn't let these commanders escape like this, right? The wild wind turned into a blade, and with one knife, the sea monsters were cut into pieces on the ice. In less than a few minutes, thousands of sea monsters turned into spirits and residual spirits, and floated towards him. Before Tang Mao cast magic, perhaps they couldn't tell whether it was intermediate or higher level, but this one level stronger wind magic, everyone clearly felt that it was high level magic. It can be seen that what was used before was just mid-level magic. But even so, it made people wonder what to say. This mid-level magic almost gave off a high-level sense of deja vu. Wang Guimingjian, who had been staring at the ice, couldn't believe when this kid became so perverted. Question mark? This feeling is not like a human being at all. When Tang Mao had just dealt with a group of sea monsters, the Shadow Evil Lord seemed to be ready to move. It seemed to be telling Tang Mao to give him a chance to play. And he just remembered that not only did he need a lot of spirit, but his shadow, that is, his shadow army, also needed a lot of spirit. Looking at the sea monsters that kept climbing onto the ice, he stepped back slightly. Then he began to arrange the CI domain. Although the Shadow Evil Core did not need to rely on the Dark Domain at all, it could still be very powerful. However, he was not going to show his Dark Army to Wang Guimingjian and others. Sea monsters rushed over one after another, and thousands of them climbed onto the ice in an instant. When the first few hundred were less than a few hundred meters away from Tang Mao, the Dark Domain emerged out of thin air. At that moment, all the Dark Legions were completely wrapped in it. Space compression. However, when the darkness enveloped the Sirens, he did not kill them immediately, but just controlled them all in his Dark Domain. If he killed them all at once, would the Sirens have the courage to continue moving forward when they sensed such a strong breath of death? Question mark? Chapter 706. The Siren's corpse is no longer existing. At present, it is just that the sky is getting dark, and the army of sea monsters is naturally fearless. One after another, they are heading for the West Guard Pavilion. They all seem to know that, as long as this line of defense is destroyed, this area will become the paradise of sea monsters. In fact, to put it bluntly, these sea monsters are useless guys who have reproduced too much. These sea monsters are actually sending themselves to die. It is naturally better to be able to capture a piece of land. If you can't capture it, it can also cause some casualties to humans. Continuing such daily battles can also consume a lot of their magic energy. It can be said that there are only benefits and no harm. Although they are abandoned, their combat effectiveness is naturally not weak. However, in Tang Mao's place, it is really not enough. After they poured into their own Dark Domain one by one, the Shadow Evil Lord was summoned. The Shadow Evil Lord, who had long been unable to bear it, appeared, and the Dark Domain became even darker. Even some superclass Shadow Mages couldn't see the situation inside? Question mark? The people in the West Guard Pavilion were all confused. They didn't know what happened. Why didn't so many sea monsters pour into the Dark Realm? Is there such a place here? Question mark? If it was just the Sea Realm, it would naturally not be able to accommodate so many sea monsters. But here, Tang Mao also cast space magic, so this place, that doesn't look very big outside is actually very big. The Shadow Evil looked at the group of sea monsters suppressed by the power of space, and a very gloomy and terrifying smile appeared. The next moment, the Shadow Evil army emerged one by one. Among them, there are also command level existences. They are cold, they are ruthless, and even they have no emotions except murderous intent. Kill. With Tang Mao's order, the Shadow Evil Master and the Shadow Evil army moved. Those sea monsters were no longer bound by the gravity of space, but at this moment, they seemed to be more willing to be bound by this dark energy. Because they were bound, they still had a chance to survive, but now they can move. It seems that they are facing only death. Even though their numbers are obviously greater than those of the Black Shadow army, for some reason, these sea monsters have no fighting spirit at all? Question mark? It may be because they are suppressed in the Dark Realm, or it may be because the Shadow Demon Lord is here. Anyway, the sea monsters now are no better than little sheep seeing a big bad wolf. The Shadow Demon army has no such awareness. At this time, they are like seeing a asterisk after not having eaten meat for a long time, and they rush forward with knives. Puff the black long knife almost ignores the defense of the sea monster's scales, and one strike penetrates the opponent's body, killing it cruelly. The commander level sea monsters are still at ease in dealing with the war general level shadow demon, but when it comes to the shadow demon commander, they are still vulnerable. There is no way. This is the Dark Realm, and they are all the overlords here. The Siren Legion, which was still coming up continuously, felt a trembling feeling from the soul after feeling the blood of their companions. However, it was not up to them whether to enter this dark area or not. After all, there were still thousands of Siren behind them. When one of the heads was stuffed here, it was scared and wanted to run away, but it found that it had no chance to escape after entering here. The famous sword of Wangayu frowned in the distance, and I don't know what he was thinking. However, no matter what he thought, one thing was certain, that is, almost all the Siren in this round were blocked, and they might have been killed outside the Xuanshao Pavilion. The attack of the Siren was naturally not endless. When a certain number was reached, the Siren would no longer continue to land on the ice. Otherwise, with such a continuous attack, let alone the Xuanshao Pavilion here, even the place where our Benti Huan was located, would have fallen long ago. After all, just for their number, it was enough to do this, that is, to die and consume. The sea monsters stopped coming ashore, and the sea monsters in the dark domain were all solved and sucked. Tang Mao took back the Shadow Evil Lord, and withdrew the dark domain at the same time. Oh my god. I just saw so many sea monsters entering. What's going on? Zero. Tang Mao's domain dissipated, and everyone discovered that the sea monsters who had just stepped into this place did not even leave their bones? Question mark? But this strong smell of blood cannot be faked. However, even if Tang Mao killed this group of sea monsters, he would not let them die without a corpse. The National Hall instructor and the Moon Sword also looked at the scene in front of them in disbelief. They didn't know what happened, but they knew that there was a very powerful energy riot in this dark domain just now, but it was just a moment of effort, and it was over. One person almost gave people the feeling that he easily killed the sea monster army, that they needed to stalemate for an hour and make some sacrifices to solve without any effort. Ayo how. Just after Tang Mao solved a large number of sea monsters, a huge roar suddenly came from behind. He was not unfamiliar with this voice. Wasn't it the cunning Seeking he had met before in the volcanic archipelago? Exclamation mark. However, the strength of this dragon monarch was obviously different from the ones he had met before, but it seemed to have sensed the resentment of some race in Tang Mao? Question mark? Or something. It rushed over like crazy. Seeing the appearance of the monarch level sea monster, Wang Gai, Ming Jian and others looked like they were going to rescue him. No matter what, Tang Mao was here to help them, so they naturally couldn't watch him get into trouble. The most important thing was that, if they sat back and did nothing, once Tang Mao had a chance to escape, that monarch level demon would simply destroy their current guarding force. Even if they blocked the opponent, there were still so many sea monsters here. How would they deal with them later? However, what shocked Wang Gai, Mingjian and others was that Tang Mao didn't seem to have any intention of escaping. When the dragon was about to approach Tang Mao with great momentum, it suddenly couldn't move. Purple Thunder Claw. After the space system locked on, Tang Mao condensed lightning and turned it into a huge claw. The claw landed on the body of the dragon. The sound of thunder instantly spread throughout the sea, and the ice under his feet began to crack and shatter at that moment. Exclamation mark. Chapter 707. He has a divine seed. It wasn't just the ice that was shattered, the scales on the dragon's huge body also fell down with a crash. Exclamation mark. Although it wasn't a fatal blow, it was already very damaging. Ayo how. A loud noise was heard, and the pain made it stronger. It actually got rid of the suppression of the silver space wall and rushed out. Shadow Evil. Kill. Tang Mao was naturally surprised, but he was not afraid at all. After all, for him, the monarch level demon was really nothing. After Tang Mao's order, the black giant shadow appeared behind the dragon, and the black blade in his hand stabbed directly down. By the time the dragon reacted, the black blade had already been inserted into its body, and the dark corrosion ability began to continuously invade its body. But even so, the dragon, relying on a breath, still had no intention of stopping and rushing towards Tang Mao. It seemed as if it was cursed, and it looked like it would never stop until death. Pretty tenacious. Tang Mao muttered, and a flame emerged from his hand. Heavenly Flame Funeral Hellfire. A huge firestone fell on the top of the dragon, and hit its body without any surprise. The raging fire ignited, and even the ice layer he had laid melted immediately. After all, the temperature of the heavenly flame is too high. This is why he has never used fire magic. But now, he has no choice. This dragon wants to fight hard, and it may fall down if it is not prepared. Although the demons killed by fire magic cannot nourish the shadow system. However, this can also make him get the residual soul. The moment the hellfire stone burned on its body, the dragon immediately felt that its body was about to be torn into pieces. The temperature of this flame is too high. The dragon roared in pain, and when it saw the ice layer below shattering, it wanted to rush into the sea. However, Tang Mao naturally said that he would not let go of this kind of monarch level monster who was fighting desperately. Free control. With his current mental power, he can still drag it, even if it is a monarch level creature. It can't move at all. The flames are ruthless. The moment Tang Mao dragged his body, the dragon couldn't get away at all. When the flames spread all over the top, the seawater below made a hissing sound of evaporation, but on the contrary, the flames did not show any sign of weakening. It must be said that at the monarch level, the tenacity of the demon's vitality is also obvious. If the creature under control was only a commander level creature, it would have been reduced to ashes after such a long period of burning, but the dragon was still struggling. Because the ice surface was completely broken, the sirens kept approaching from underwater, but the outrageous thing was that the temperature of the sea in the area where the dragon was located was almost boiling hot. As soon as the servant level sirens stepped into this place, they were immediately refined by the temperature, and finally turned into a dead body, floating on the sea surface. Although the warrior level sirens could not withstand it, they were not burned to death because of approaching. There was no way, they could not stay under the sea, and they could only choose to walk on the waves again. But without the punishment of the ice attribute, they relied on the power of the seawater, but they were significantly enhanced, and their speed alone was unknown. Even a normal superclass magician would not be afraid of these thousands of little demons, let alone Tang Mao, a non-human. Skyflame Funeral. The ice layer has been dissolved, and his own flames are obviously not affected by the seawater here. In this case, the fire system should naturally show its style. Shua 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 shua, the fire clouds gathered, and large pieces of fire rain continued to fall. When the sirens saw the rain of fire from the sky, they fell into the water one by one. In their view, Tang Mao was more or less a tiger, using fire magic in the sea. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. However, the moment the fire rain touched the sea surface, the seawater began to evaporate. As for the sea monsters floating in the shallows, they immediately stayed on the sea surface, as if they were roasted. This kid actually has the heavenly seed flame. Wang Guimingjian stared at the scene in front of him in amazement, and the whole person was almost stupid. At Tang Mao's age, it is already very remarkable to have a powerful soul seed. Even among the peers in the whole world, he is the top existence. Heavenly seed, this is extremely rare. Even some old guys have never had it. But such a rare thing was actually possessed by a young man. Not only Wang Guimingjian saw that Tang Mao's flame was unusual, even Fujikut Inabuko and other superclass mages saw it. After all, the international community has already published statements about sub-heavenly seeds, small heavenly seeds, and large heavenly seeds. Judging from the visual, Tang Mao's flame is at least a small heavenly seed. If there is still a forbidden realm, then he is equivalent to having a powerful great heavenly seed. The reason why Tang Mao is not afraid of any superclass magician is actually because of this forbidden realm. His forbidden realm can prohibit all magic that restrains the fire system, so even a fully cultivated superclass magician cannot be his opponent. After all, the heavenly seed plus Yanji has made him a veritable flame king. The rain of fire fell on a large area, and the sea monsters did not come close. After seeing the tragic scene ahead, they wanted to stop. At this time, the dragon had been completely burned to death, and they did not want to die in vain. No. But how can one person scare away so many sea monsters? Although the Demon King is dead, there are still several commander level sea monsters. Tang Mao is very powerful, but how much magic power can he, a human being, have? The land demons are several times more than humans, not to mention the ocean. So even in the face of a strong enemy, the wheel-to-wheel battle sea monsters still have mysterious confidence at this moment. Tang Mao has been holding on here for half an hour. However, the number of sirens that had been killed was the amount that so many mages could finish killing in an hour, so he could have retreated. But the speed of magic energy recovery was almost proportional to the magic energy consumed. In addition to releasing the wind type superclass magic, he almost only used high level magic. In this case, there was no need for him to evacuate here without much consumption. It seemed that, no matter how many monsters he killed, his spirit was not enough. Pop, his body moved, and his toes touched the water like a dragonfly, and the water froze again the next moment. Chapter 708, the number of sirens. The water surface froze again, and many sea monsters were frozen in place when the ice spread. Under the invasion of the extremely cold Yunki, some exploded in seconds, and some continued to explode for several seconds. Without exception, none of the frozen sea monsters could survive. Electric power grid. After freezing a large area of ice, Tang Mao set up a series of electric chains in this area. The electric chains spread out on the ice surface, and the moment the sea monsters touched them, they turned into charred corpses. But compared with the death of hundreds of sea monsters in one hand, this casualty is somewhat weak? The people in Zishao Pavilion didn't know what happened. However, no one spoke, because the power Tang Mao showed before had completely shut up all their doubts and swallowed them in their stomachs. Seeing that there were more and more sea monsters, Tang Mao still didn't release any destruction magic. Even if Wang Guimingjian chose to believe him, he was a little anxious. Be prepared for battle. No matter what, he couldn't joke with the entire Zishao Pavilion and the lives of the people they had to protect behind them. The guarding mages all became fully focused when they heard the loud shout of the moon watching sword. Tang Mao was naturally very clear about the following actions, but he never liked to explain, because seeing it with his own eyes is much more practical than any explanation. Nearly 10,000 sea monsters have landed on the ice, and the electric net is completely densely covered around them. Thunderfield. Thunderstorm. At the moment, when the sea monsters were about to get close to each other, Tang Mao suddenly jumped up, and then a deep purple constellation emerged. A lightning bolt landed directly. The place where the lightning bolt landed was naturally the place where the dense lightning net was. Boom. This lightning bolt was not very destructive, but it was a fuse. At the moment, when it destroyed hundreds of sea monsters, it also caused the lightning net on the entire ground to riot. Within the domain, the sky thunder was also attracted down. 10 in a row, 10 in a row, and almost anyone who was contaminated by Tang Mao's lightning could not escape the punishment of the heavenly thunder. Boom. 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 A large area, in just a few seconds, all began to explode continuously. Large tracts of sea monsters, almost all of them were shattered at that moment. When the thunderstorm ended, the seawater overflowing from the broken ice here was full of monster blood. This is the feeling of a real river of blood. Gulp. Wang Guimingjian, who was originally preparing to order an attack, not only did not say the words of attack, but also couldn't help swallowing a mouthful of saliva. Tang Mao surprised him before, and he should be used to it. However, one system pervert, 2 words pervert, that's fine. Why does it seem that Tang Mao is so powerful in every system? Exclamation mark. The thunder and explosion sound lasted for 4 or 5 minutes, and when the thunderstorm came continuously, the spirits also floated towards Tang Mao one by one. After solving tens of thousands of sea monsters, Tang Mao found that there seemed to be tens of thousands of monsters in the distant sea area. Even if the sea monsters were spreading, it would not be the case that a Xuanshao pavilion would send out a tribe of demons, right? Question mark. If it was the same in other places, it would be hard to imagine how many demons the nine-tailed fox emperor, who had just broken the seal, commanded? Question mark. He did not continue to fight, but retreated to the West Guard pavilion. The sea monsters did not launch a new attack, because they had just exploded, as if the previous thunderstorm had frightened them too much. When Tang Mao returned to the West Guard pavilion intact, the military mages here, and the retainers of the Wang Gaiyu family cheered like wild animals. Tang Mao could only regard their special way of celebration as a custom of the people here. Seeing him coming, Wang Gaimingjian said excitedly, "Thank you. Thank you so much." Tang Mao said bluntly to Wang Gaimingjian, who was talking incoherently, "Do you know how many sea monsters there are on other coastlines in this? I don't know, but after so long, most of the coastline has been lost. Wang Gaimingjian is responsible for fighting here every day, so he has no time to pay attention to things in other places. Why do you suddenly think of asking this? Don't you find that there is any change in the number of sea monsters?" Tang Mao continued. Hearing what Tang Mao said, Wang Gaimingjian was suddenly stunned. After fighting for so many days, the number of sea monsters who died outside Zishao Pavilion must be at least 80,000 or 90,000, right? Question mark. This is a demon from a tribe. I think if there are so many sea monsters on every coastline, then the nine-tailed fox emperor controls not only the sea monsters outside your Japanese waters. Moreover, you may not be able to withstand this doomsday disaster. Tang Mao had nothing to hide from them. After all, whether he could bear it or not was not important to him. He just came to help for a few days, and if things went wrong, he would just turn around and run away. No, it's impossible. We sacrificed so many warriors and resisted so many days. If that's the case, why don't they attack day and night? Wang Gaimingjian naturally didn't want to believe what his country was facing. Maybe I just thought too much. I'm just reminding you, believe it or not. Tang Mao continued. He noticed something was wrong and said his judgment, but he didn't know whether it was right or wrong. If it was wrong, maybe Zioa would still have some hope of survival. If it was wrong, they might not be able to survive. Even Tang Mao had never expected the sudden appearance of the Jiana Longhagen. You know, he used the space system to sense the surroundings at the beginning. There are some special things in the sea, even if the space system is not as powerful as the sound system. But with his vigilance, he should be able to find out something. But he clearly sensed the strongest existence, which was just a commander level demon. After Tang Mao finished speaking, he took Mochizuki Kyanksen, who was sleeping like a dead pig, away. After all, the sea monster no longer had the intention to attack, and he had already tried so hard, so Mochizuki Mingjian naturally didn't say anything. After leaving the guard's attic and coming to Mochizuki Kyanksen's house, the space magic continued during the period, as if he was afraid of waking her up. The female mages here were envious of this scene. It's a pity that Tang Mao didn't see them in his eyes. Chapter 709 Breakthrough and Awakening. After bringing Mochizuki Chiksen back to the room, Tang Mao let her lie down gently. Of course, the soft space wrapping has not dissipated yet. Mochizuki Chiksen really looked very tired. Maybe she hadn't had a good rest for a long time. Otherwise, how could she, a super class mage, not have any reaction after so long? After looking at her, Tang Mao began to practice meditation. The summoning system seemed to be eager to attack the high-level barrier. Come to think of it, the big brothers around it, don't they occupy a huge area now? Only the area it occupies is pitifully small. At this time, Tang Mao suddenly remembered. Where did Apus's little hoof go again? Question mark. It seems that this girl disappeared when he was fighting the sea monster. With Apus's strength, he doesn't need to worry about anything, and he can be sure that she is absolutely loyal to him. After all, what belongs to her is not only her body, but also her soul, which belongs to her completely. Tang Mao didn't think about what she did, and began to break through. At night, the stars are twinkling, and the full moon is hanging high in the sky. Mochizuki Kyanksen slept comfortably for a day and stretched slightly. Her good figure was also displayed at a glance. Apis, who came back at some point, looked at the proud place and curled her lips and said, "Another big cow." Unfortunately, Mochizuki Kyanksen was set up with a space barrier and didn't hear her words at all. At this time, Mochizuki Kyanksen saw that she was in her room and sat up immediately. After all, it was the day when the sea monsters were rampant. Looking around, she found that Tangmao was sitting in meditation not far away. As for him, there was an extremely charming loli girl beside him? Mochizuki Kyanksen was not very familiar with Apis. After all, the last time she came, Apis was just in the molting period, so they actually met for the first time. "Who are you?" Mochizuki Kyanksen asked, and found that her voice actually had a slight echo. Only then did she find that she was surrounded by the power of space. Suddenly, she understood why she slept so late. It turned out that Tangmao had been consuming magic energy to give her a quiet environment. Women are emotional creatures. Knowing that he was willing to consume magic energy to give her a quiet environment in order to let her rest well, Mochizuki Chiksen felt a little red in her eyes. When hum at this moment, waves of magic fluctuations suddenly came from all around Tangmao. The powerful fluctuations even made the whole room tremble. Apis and Mochizuki Chiksen were stunned at the same time, but it was not the first time that they saw Tangmao's breakthrough and abnormality. Apis did not make a fuss and immediately stretched out her hand to signal Mochizuki Chiksen not to touch him. Mochizuki Chiksen looked at this very calm girl and slowly reacted. She also saw that Tangmao seemed to be breaking through another super level. What Mochizuki Chiksen didn't understand was that Tangmao had broken through, so how could some special light appear in his body again? The vibration affected not only the two of them, but also the outside world, which was also affected by the vibration, and there were bursts of footsteps. It seemed that the mages here thought that the sea monster was coming to attack again, so they rushed to resist. Tangmao also slowly opened his eyes. He was not uncomfortable. The vibration just now was actually the awakening of a new system that had not been seen for a long time. A chaos system, a sound system. The last one was actually the light system. Especially the last light system. It seemed to have a different feeling. It had reached the level of nebula as soon as it appeared. Moreover, there was some metal attached to the golden light. The most important thing was that when these three systems appeared, his spiritual realm was also improved again, and he actually reached the 9th level of the small realm. With such a powerful mental power, it only took a moment for the chaos system and the sound system to be controlled. Moreover, the absorption of some magic energy allowed them to reach the state of initial perfection at the same time. 3 systems again. Now he has the lightning system, Super 2, shadow system, Super 2, fire system, Super 2, space system, Super 1 perfect, ice system, Super 1 perfect, wind system, Super 1, summoning system, Super 1. Metal light system, intermediate, sound system, elementary perfect, chaos system, elementary perfect. Finally, although the demon system has not changed much, the entire galaxy has become more violent? There are 11 systems of magic. Even when he just broke through the super level of the summoning system, the lightning system Starsea and the ice system Starsea also underwent great changes. It seems that the purple sky divine thunder and 0 degree ice have perfectly exerted their original power. At that moment, both of the two Starseas erupted with their own extremely strong energy storms. What did you do? Why do I feel that my power is back? Apis looked at Tangmao blankly and asked in confusion. Tangmao smiled, then stood up and put her in his arms and walked towards Mochizuki Kyanksen. Now he urgently needs to share his joy with these two women. Apis was used to it. After all, it didn't matter who she was fighting against. After coming to Mochizuki Chiksen and removing her protection, she took her to the other side. Mochizuki Chiksen was full of doubts about what happened before, but now was obviously not the time to ask about it. What are you doing? This is something worth celebrating, so I think it is necessary to share it with you. Tangmao said meaningfully. You bastard, what do you think of me? How arrogant is Mochizuki Chiksen? Usually when no one is around, she has given Tang Mao enough face. But that is only limited to when no one is around. Now there is a girl, how can she? Why are you so excited? It's your honor to be with this king. Apathy said. Mochizuki Chixon was stunned. She really didn't expect that this little cutie could say such a fierce word? Question mark. Kayangsan, I broke through, and I also awakened 3 new systems. Tang Mao looked at the stunned Mochizuki Chixon and suddenly said. Mochizuki Chixon was stunned again. After being in a daze for a few seconds, she realized that her weapons had been removed, and the weak-looking girl actually sat on her hands too much. Apis, this little snake, was really having fun. Seeing this, Tang Mao was a little suspicious. Did this guy change? Question mark. Why did he feel more familiar with it than himself? Chapter 710. Master and servant have the same nature. Tonight, Mochizuki Chixon also realized what the girl's fear was. In comparison, Tang Mao was really gentle to her. I don't know what the girl hated me for. After a night, she could still feel the discomfort of the bear's mouth. It hurts. It really hurts. It's all red. However, if you hate others and yourself, you can't afford to offend them. For a full hour, Apis supported the ground with a pair of white hands. Even she couldn't do a handstand split. However, let alone, the jungle sister felt ashamed in front of this ruthless girl. In the morning, when Tang Mao went out, Mochizuki Chixon was still hugging Apis in a deep sleep. Last night, they looked like they had a deep hatred, but today they are as good as best friends for many years. Question mark? Sure enough, women are creatures that are difficult to understand. He came to the West Guard Pavilion and saw Mochizuki Mingjian lying on the table where Mochizuki Chixon rested yesterday. It seems that, because he won a short victory in the battle yesterday, the sea monsters all retreated, so he dared to rest. Or it may be, because he really couldn't bear it anymore. Tang Mao didn't mean to wake him up. He looked around. Although the guards looked listless, they still forced themselves to open their eyes and look at the sea. His figure flashed, and then he appeared in the sea thousands of meters away. Speaking of which, he was also quite curious. Did the sea monsters retreat like this last night? Obviously, there are still many of them, right? How could they evacuate just like that? He didn't think the sea monsters were afraid of being killed by him. Now that he has the ability of the sound system, even if it is only the beginner level, it is still no problem to search here with mental power and space power. However, the strange thing is that the sea monsters in this sea area seem to have really left. Question mark? There is no breath left. Question mark? Tang Mao dived into the sea with a hint of curiosity. Of course, when he went down, he still did not forget to wrap himself with the power of the space system. And also use the energy of the shadow system to wrap himself up. Although he didn't feel any danger, he should be careful. He dived into the sea and swam into the deep sea. After wandering in the sea for a long time, he found that there was really nothing here. No matter what the reason is, at least for now, this is a good thing for Shuangshao Pavilion. When he left the sea and returned to Zishao Pavilion, Wang Mingjian had already woken up. He naturally noticed that Tang Mao had just used the power of the space system. Tang Mao, what are you doing? Wang Mingjian asked immediately after seeing that he had returned from the sea. I went to the sea to take a look, and the sea monsters seemed to have retreated. Looking at Wang Mingjian, Tang Mao said truthfully, I know that we will definitely win the final victory in this war. Wang Mingjian said with a little excitement. Well, maybe, but you still better not let your guard down. Tang Mao said again. Of course, I know this. Thank you. After Wang Mingjian finished speaking, he rushed to the place where his men were, as if he was going to tell them something. Even if Tang Mao didn't listen, he knew that he must have ordered a few water mages to search. It can only be said that it is human nature. After telling them these things, Tang Mao left. When he returned to Wang Kayangsan's residence, the two girls seemed to be chatting about something. Question mark? What are you talking about? What's the happy thing? Let me have some fun together. Looking at the two girls, Tang Mao said. The two girls turned their pretty faces to the side at the same time. As for Tsundere plus Tsundere, what he likes is to trample on them. A tiger pounced on the two girls and pressed them down. "You two little girls, can't you tell who is the big and small king?" Apis and Wangayukiangsan looked at each other at the same time, and the next moment, something happened that made Tangmao dumbfounded. Lily was born in front of him! Exclamation mark. Rough, you know, last night Mochizuki Chiksen was still normal. How come she became like this today? Question mark. I have to say, she is worthy of being her contract partner. Even if she is a female snake, she has an aggressive heart. Tangmao's astonishment only lasted for a few minutes. Apis has often teamed up with Yushishi to play like this, but unfortunately, although Yushishi also has a trace of the blood of the demon moth, she is still a human being after all. The fine tradition of China tells her that this cannot be done. He just didn't expect that Mochizuki Chiksen's hoof would be bent like this? Question mark. Ignoring their happiness, Tangmao is also looking for his own happiness. Of course, Mochizuki Chiksen is still the one being targeted. Apis, this little demon snake, is simply a masochist. For her, to mess with her is like serving a servant. So at this time, to mess with Mochizuki Chiksen, she is the most hurt. In this way, Mochizuki Chiksen is also dealt with, and Apis is also aggrieved. So why not? Sure enough, the two girls were having fun on their own, but everything changed after Tangmao joined in. It was simply a matter of time. "Servant, you're going too far." After saying that, Apis seemed to have turned into a flower-guarding messenger, and was pushed to the side by Tangmao. How can the queen hold the wall? Tangmao must lie flat. Wangayukiangsan was choking. These two are indeed master and servant. She understood why Tangmao was able to contract with Medusa of the Orthodox bloodline. These two are simply the same. It's going to be bad. From the time the sun was high in the sky to the time it set in the west, Apis was finally exhausted. But since she wanted to be the king, she had to hold on even if she held the wall, right? What's even more outrageous is that in the dead of night, Wangayukiangsan had just opened her eyes and was still in a hazy state, but she found herself being taken outside. Looking at the moon in the sky and the nearby rockery, she was a little confused. If Tangmao wasn't really behind her, she would have felt like she was dreaming. What seems to be there? Irby, are you scared by the siren? What could happen in the middle of the night? Two patrolling mages walked by, and one of them, a shadow mage, vaguely sensed a burst of dark energy. The other mage looked over but found nothing. He just thought that his companion had gone insane because of the constant attacks of the siren recently. At this time, in the place where the dark energy was faintly fluctuating, Mochizuki Chiksen was extremely nervous. The contrast was exactly what Tangmao wanted. After all, only when you are nervous can you experience different excitement. If there is no excitement in life, what is the meaning? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 711, Apis's Hidden Secret. From time to time, it tightens. From time to time, it tightens. It is stimulating, but it is also true that I can't stand it. Another day has passed. It has been 3 days since I came to Xuanshao Pavilion. Although I have exercised my tibia every day, it is more or less tiring than fighting monsters. Fortunately, he has become much stronger. Even though 2 days have passed, the dying look in the past is no longer there. On the contrary, because she can play with Mochizuki Chiksen, the Snake Queen has become more delicate and more smooth in recent days. Unlike the two of them who are full of energy, Mochizuki Chiksen's eyes are slightly swollen. I don't know what kind of inhuman treatment she has suffered from this master and servant? Question mark. But even in this state, what people don't understand is that she looks quite happy. It seems that she has become a masochist after staying with Apis for a long time. Mochizuki Chiksen naturally can't keep messing around with Tangmao and Apis. After all, the current disaster is not completely over. She still believed in Tangmao. Unfortunately, she was not the controller here after all. Some things, even if she believed them, did not work. When Tangmao and Apis got up and strolled, they saw that Xuanshao Pavilion had restored its former order. Although there were many casualties this time, defending the home was more important than anything else. He promised Wang Gayu to come here for 7 days, so it was 7 days. After 7 days, if something was wrong, he would resolutely take her away. Little Hoof, where did you go after the battle between me and the sea monster that day? Tang Mao suddenly remembered that Apis disappeared that day. Recently, she kept asking for it, and she forgot it. Apis paused after hearing this, hesitated and said, "What can I do? Of course, I watched you fight there. Are you lying to me?" Seeing her like this, Tang Mao was immediately unhappy. He trusted her so much, but she lied to him? Watching him fight? Is he blind? Didn't he see that she disappeared for a long time? Question mark. Moreover, in the past 2 days, she also sneaked out without eating. It's not that he didn't notice it, but she took the initiative to come up to him before he had time to ask anything. Seeing that she was going to take care of him, Tang Mao naturally couldn't agree. After all, this is a typical irresponsible snake demon. Every time he was happy enough, he would go to sleep for beauty sleep. So and so lied, Apis said slightly weakly when she saw Tang Mao's face become serious. Do you really think you sneak out every day and I don't know what you do? Tang Mao said again. Ah, you know everything? Apis was stunned and said with fear. If Tang Mao knew, wouldn't he be beaten again? Question mark. This man is really as unpleasant to the queen as always. Rough snakeskin, are you really hiding something from me? Tang Mao glared at Apis and said. You blow me up? Apis asked Tang Mao with a glare. Huh. Apis snorted and wanted to go somewhere else. However, before she could take 3 steps, she was forcibly pulled back by Tang Mao. Why does this feel so wrong? This little bitch must have been hiding something from me recently. Although she didn't leave for long enough each time, men sometimes just like to think about it. Okay, I'll be honest. Apis knew that if she didn't say it today, she might as well forget it. The most important thing is that next time she leaves, this guy will definitely follow her. Since she will be discovered sooner or later, she might as well be honest. It was Lingling, that stinky girl. After learning about what happened here, she also followed. Yeah? Lingling is here too? Tang Mao was relieved to know that she was not doing anything, but when she heard that Lingling was also here, Tang Mao couldn't help but exclaimed. This little girl is really troublesome. It's so messy here, why did she come too? Exclamation mark. She came by plane when we set out, but she was not as fast as us. Apis explained. She was not there when Tang Mao was fighting yesterday. In fact, she went to find the little girl Lingling. Take me to see her. It's too late to say anything now. The person has come. You can't just leave her outside all the time. Japan is extremely unsafe now. You found it yourself, not me who told it off. Apis said weakly. By the way, aren't you and Lingling incompatible? Why did you help her this time? Tang Mao always felt that something was wrong and asked back. After a moment of hesitation, Apis simply confessed, oh, it's just that I picked up some good things in Xianshan last time, but I didn't tell you, and that little girl knew about it. Now I am telling you, you can do whatever you want to me. She is the dignified Queen Medusa. She was really scared by this little thing. Now that she said it out, she felt a lot better. You're still eating alone behind my back. Tang Mao said with a glare. This little snakeskin is really getting more and more arrogant. The reason why he didn't find out at the first time was because he trusted her too much. But she actually lied to herself. Exclamation mark. Snow Girl, Flame Lady and the others have improved so fast, but I'm standing still. I'm anxious. Apis really did not hide anything at this time, because she saw a disappointed expression on Tang Mao's face. If it was before, Apis would not care, but it is different now. She is a baby who needs to be fed. Without Tang Mao, wouldn't life be less fun? Question mark. Although she often said that there are a lot of servants, but if it is not Tang Mao, how can she be happy? Then you can tell me directly, why do you lie to me? Do you know that I have almost no doubt about you? I'm wrong this time, I have said it, you can do whatever you want. Apis is not a person who likes to admit mistakes. After all, she has the blood of Medusa. Whatever you want, do it. Tang Mao raised the corners of his mouth slightly, saying meaningfully. Apathy didn't know what Tang Mao wanted to do, but she was in the wrong, so she gritted her teeth and stamped her feet and said, "You just want to go through the back door, so you can go." After saying that, Apathy took Tang Mao to the place where Ling Ling was assigned. Tang Mao didn't want to go to Ling Ling anymore. After all, there wouldn't be any danger in a day or two. But Apathy seemed to be determined to make things difficult for Ling Ling. She would be stabbed if she wanted to, but Ling Ling couldn't let her off easily. After all, she had caused trouble for herself. Chapter 712. Millions of sirens gather in Tokyo. Updated. Click, 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 click. When Tang Mao and Apis came to the door where Ling Ling was, they heard the continuous sound of the laptop keyboard. I don't know what Ling Ling is obsessed with. The two pushed the door open, and Ling Ling said without turning her head, "Why did you come to see me so early today?" "Guess." Tang Mao responded. After hearing Tang Mao's voice, Ling Ling was slightly stunned and couldn't help but stop the movement of her hands. But it was just a moment, and then Ling Ling looked back at Apis and said dissatisfiedly, "You betrayed me." He found out by himself. Although Apis had confessed to Tang Mao, he still unconsciously shied away a little when he saw Ling Ling's little eyes. Of course, this was the truth. Ling Ling looked like I didn't believe it, and that little expression seemed to be saying, "Tang Mao, does he have this IQ? Question mark?" He noticed it himself. Apis said dissatisfiedly, "That means you are stupid, otherwise how could you be noticed?" Humph. Ling Ling pouted her lips. "I did it on purpose, okay." Humph. Apis also said angrily, "Who is not a baby? Why should I be wronged like this?" Tang Mao directly picked up Ling Ling from her small computer and stared at her. Ling Ling was obviously used to being held and did not resist much. Being stared at by Tang Mao, she was not afraid at all and asked, "Such an exciting thing, why don't you let me come?" Tang Mao said unhappily, "If you want to come, you can tell me. But why do you think I can't see the abnormality of Apis? You still have this IQ?" Ling Ling asked very naively. Rough. Tang Mao felt a little insulted. Pa. The next moment, one hand held her tightly against him, and the other hand was naturally used to torture her. "This little girl obviously looks so cute. Why does she have an extra mouth?" The bouncy little buttocks were suddenly slapped. Ling Ling's face turned red instantly, and even her neck looked a little red. After all, she had never been slapped since she was a child, despite her high IQ. What's more, she was slapped on her buttocks. There was also Apis here. "Oh my god. You bastard." Ling Ling looked at Tang Mao with some shame and anger, as if she was about to cry. Tang Mao didn't expect that the little girl would have such a big reaction. "I'm scolding you and hitting you." Although he was reluctant to hit her, he couldn't be timid at this time. Otherwise, wouldn't the little girl be even more incurable in the future? Ling Ling's stubborn little temper naturally wouldn't give in so easily. She put her hands around Tang Mao's neck, borrowed the force, and bit Tang Mao's shoulder. This sudden bite, this sharp little tiger tooth, was so harmful. The most helpless thing was that she was biting him, and he had to support her little bouncy buttocks to prevent her from falling to the ground. It's outrageous. Apathy was watching from the side. She thought it was nothing. It was just a spanking. For her, she was about to have her buttocks opened. What's wrong with a spanking? As for such a cute and fierce one. However, for Ling Ling's appearance just now, Apathy said that she had learned something. "Well, you're still getting excited." Ling Ling bit Tang Mao and asked without letting go. It was really hard to imagine that this was the cute little Ling Ling with that indecent look. No. Looking at Ling Ling's cute appearance, Tang Mao felt a little uncomfortable. However, if she gave Ling Ling a move now, I'm afraid that old man Bao would still be desperate to find her, right? Ling Ling seemed to have sensed something and hurriedly let go and pushed Tang Mao away from his arms. After a par, she said in shame and anger, "Damn hooligan. This is a natural reaction." Tang Mao hasn't been so unrestrained for a long time, and he was a little embarrassed. However, compared to Apathy, Ling Ling is more like a sweet little lolly. Carrot humph. Ling Ling turned around and ran back to her computer, looking like she didn't want to talk. Maybe she was shy? Sure enough, it's not good to have too high an IQ. Tang Mao looked at Apis, who was provoked by Ling Ling. and Apis just thought he was here. When she thought of Yushish's tears, she panicked. Something big is going to happen. Fortunately, Lingling spoke at this time. The big thing Lingling said was really a big thing. What's wrong, Lingling? Tang Mao restrained his thoughts, looked at the computer and asked Lingling. However, it's not surprising that Lingling said that he didn't have enough IQ. This thing is like astronomy, which is completely incomprehensible. I found out from several coastlines that it seems that the sirens that suddenly disappeared have gathered here. Lingling pointed to a map and pointed to the Tokyo Sea battlefield. Do they want to concentrate their firepower and attack us from here? Tang Mao asked back. What else do you think they are going to do? No wonder the sea monsters in Xuanshao Pavilion suddenly disappeared. Tang Mao paused and said. Then did the Japanese military and government have no reaction? Tang Mao asked again. I'm afraid it's too late. Lingling sighed and then explained. I just searched for their traces for a long time, and I just deduced it. Before I could confirm, they had already appeared. Do you think they can resist millions of sea monsters at this time? Millions? Question mark? Hearing this number, Tang Mao was dumbfounded. Even if he turned into a demon, he would not be able to kill them all in a few days and nights, right? The most important thing is that they appeared too suddenly. In this case, it only takes one breath, and the coastline of Tokyo will be conquered by the sea monsters and become the landing port of the sea monsters. After a moment of silence, Lingling looked at Tang Mao and said, if Tokyo falls, it will soon become a living hell. I'll go and take a look. You and Apis wait here for me. It's very dangerous. There are millions of people. Among them, there may be the nine-tailed fox emperor who broke through the seal. Lingling looked at Tang Mao and said, it's okay. I won't do anything stupid. I just want to take a look. I have never seen the scene of millions of demons. If I don't have the courage to take a look, if our country is invaded by a demon empire in the future, then won't we be able to do anything? This is the first time in his life that he feels powerless. Even if he has not been there in person, even if he has only heard about it. Millions of sea monsters, what a horrible situation that is. Tang Mao can't imagine it. Lingling actually wants to go, but she also knows that this is not a joke. He had to hide his thoughts in his heart. Chapter 713, The Destruction of Donghae City, The Assistance of the Forbidden Spellmaster. Over Donghae City. When Tang Mao arrived here, the entire Donghae City had been completely flooded by seawater. Even though the buildings here were prepared to resist the high tide, unfortunately, the sea rose this time. It was simply terrifying. Even the dams they built were submerged, and even if the seawater was drained, the dams were completely destroyed. In fact, the city was full of sea monsters. There were some familiar sea monsters such as the white weeping monster, the sawtoothed green monster, the redling monster, and the fierce shark monster at the general level, and there were many unfamiliar ones. There were not a few commander level ones, such as the Blue Valley Fierce Beast and the Sea Python monster. The most terrifying thing was that even at the commander level, there were tens of thousands of them wherever they looked. Exclamation mark. Although the seawater had dropped a lot, this place was still a nightmare for humans. Not to mention ordinary people, even some mages had no chance of survival. Whether it was a mid-level magician or a high-level magician, there were scenes of being slaughtered everywhere. Moreover, the sea monsters were still entering the flooded city in an endless stream. Rumble, 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 rumble. Buildings after buildings began to collapse and shatter, and the buildings that could stop the seawater were almost completely destroyed. Roar. Just as he was about to leave here, a huge roar came out, and then a huge python-like thing rushed out from below. It opened its bloody mouth, as if it had locked onto Tang Mao. Seeing the appearance of this thing, Tang Mao was slightly stunned. He thought to himself, this snake, this python has really offended a lot. Isn't this thing in front of him the pseudo-dragon that he met when he came to Tokyo to participate in the national government's training? I didn't expect the other party to be still alive. Well, I didn't expect the other party to still remember him? Question mark. However, compared to the previous encounter, this time Tang Mao looked at it. It was just a small insect. Gravity. He raised his hand slightly, and the sea python pseudo-dragon that had been promoted to a monarch was locked in midair by him, unable to move at all. You are not the only one who has become stronger. Looking at the sea python pseudo-dragon rushing up, Tang Mao muttered in a low voice. Boom 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 boom. As Tang Mao finished speaking, thunders gathered in his hand. Finally, it turned into a thunder halberd. If you see me in the next life, go around me. The moment the thunder halberd was thrown, Tang Mao shouted. The pseudo-dragon had already regretted it. Even though it was struggling constantly, even though its huge body was bleeding, it still couldn't break free from the constraints of this space. The thunder halberd would not give it too much chance to buffer, and a halberd was inserted into its body. Boom. The next moment, thunder exploded in midair. Thunder of destruction, destroying everything. Even the monarch level defense could not withstand Tang Mao's super level thunder. Or thunderous explosion almost spread throughout the entire East Sea city. The monarch level creatures were killed in an instant. The mages who were still alive and fighting here seemed to see a ray of light in the haze. They all rekindled their desire to survive. Looking at their bravery in killing the enemy, Tang Mao did not stop, but turned around and left. At the moment, when the thunder exploded just now, he noticed that there were several big monsters coming here. He really didn't take the monarch seriously, but with so many monsters, who knew if there were any terrifying existences among them? However, before he left, he saw a large number of feather monsters suddenly appear in the air. These feather monsters were the flame prison birds that he encountered when he went to the volcanic islands. They seemed to have become thugs. No wonder Donghai City fell so quickly. Sky Flame Funeral Thousand Petal Flame Flower. Looking at the group of hellfire birds, Tang Mao pushed the black and red flame in his hand into the clouds. Suddenly, an extremely gorgeous but deadly flower flame fell from the sky. The flower flame was composed of more than 1,000 extremely hot petals. When they fell down in an overwhelming manner, the suffocating oppression made it impossible for people to raise any resistance. The entire fire petal sky flame fell, like an ancient sleeping volcano in the sky suddenly venting its ruthless anger to the world. Although the hellfire birds that flew over were all fire type, how could the fire on them compare with Tang Mao's flame? The firebirds were overwhelming, the number of a whole tribe. Under the baptism of the flames, thousands of firebirds were directly reduced to ashes. Because of the bonus effect of the fire element heavenly seed, tens of thousands of firebirds nearby were killed or injured by the residual power. After the firebirds sensed the horror of Tang Mao, they all dispersed. If they were gathered together, the remaining ones would not be able to withstand a few waves of bombing. Good idea, but it's useless. Seeing that the other party still did not give up being a roadblock, Tang Mao's hand suddenly glowed with silver light. The power of space condensed, and those scattered firebirds immediately moved uncontrollably to the center. Sky Flame Funeral Purgatory Flame Dragon. Then, a fire dragon rushed straight to the tens of thousands of firebirds squeezed together. Bang! The moment they collided, a raging fire burst into the sky. The temperature of the flames made the nearby group of firebirds feel like they had lost their souls. In just a few minutes, they lost half of their number. At this point, how could they still have the courage to block Tang Mao's way? Just as he was about to withdraw, he came face to face with a powerful magical aura. Question mark? This aura seemed to be a human magician. In fact, if he was more rational now, he should leave. But, judging from the aura of these people, the weakest of them were super-class magicians. There might even be a forbidden spell magician here. It's not that he had never seen forbidden spells, but he just wanted to see how the forbidden spell magician would turn the tide in this situation. He was still very interested in this kind of battle. However, there were several big monsters rushing here at this moment, so Tang Mao had to fly to the city below. Although many places here have been destroyed, and there is nothing left, there are still some remaining shelters. After he came to the building irrigated by seawater, he used the power of the shadow system and the space system to hide himself. 3 minutes after he hid, a huge monster with a bull head and a fish body suddenly jumped from the sea surface into the air, and then stayed on the sea surface again. In front of its huge body, these warrior level monsters were as small as ants. Then, one after another, huge thunder squids also showed their heads from the sea. More than a dozen squids were almost all monarch level existences. Another sound of water flowing down was heard, and a huge mountain suddenly rose from the sea. This huge creature like a mountain is naturally the frost turtle. It is almost like a monarch level creature with its whole body full of defense. After they showed their heads, a strange sound came from the sea again, but this time no creature appeared. However, Tang Mao could clearly sense that the other party seemed to be another top monarch. This aura seemed to be even more powerful than the group of big monsters that appeared. Even in terms of momentum, even Fairy Lion was almost inferior to the other party. Of course, this only means that Fairy Lion is not as good as the other party in momentum, that's all. But in actual combat, whether he can beat him or not, Tang Mao is not sure. The battle between the monarchs is not just about level. At their level, restraint, bloodline, and terrain also play a big role. With the appearance of these sea siren monarchs, the mages who fought hard in this sea battle city almost lost the courage to fight. After all, these are monarch level creatures. Normally, the appearance of one is a sea siren creature that can cause unrest in the whole city. Now there are more than 10 of them. How can they have the courage to fight again? Question mark? Chapter 714. Right in the sea. At the same time, more than a dozen people with wings gathered here. They were not all winged magicians, and naturally there were a few who flew here with the help of the power of wing magic tools. But there was no surprise. These people were definitely super class great perfection magicians. Even the 3 white bearded old men among them were more likely to be forbidden spell level figures. Lord Wuhi, we are still late. Looking at the tragic scene below, a middle-aged woman said angrily. Damn it. The white bearded old man glared and cursed angrily. Wuhi, it's not their fault. When they noticed it, the sea monsters had already gathered outside the East China Sea city. Look at the scene below. How can the current East China Sea city resist it? An old man next to him sighed slightly. Our target is the 1,000-year fox. Don't waste time here. If we don't kill it completely, it will be useless to kill more of these bastards. The old man on the other side also spoke. HMPH, Mirita, Jinxia, don't you see that there are already bastards sent by the 1,000-year fox to greet us here? Wuhi looked at the 2 old men and said. Don't get entangled with them. Our target is the fox. Mirita said. Maybe we don't want to get entangled with them, but it doesn't mean we can get away with it. Another old man looked at the more than 10 thunder squids that had begun to spray hydroelectric pillars and stepped forward to cast a light shield. Bang bang bang. The attacks of more than 10 monarchs were almost useless in front of the opponent's light shield. Demon sword. Then the old man pointed to the sky, and a series of lightsabers emerged. The next moment, the lightsabers fell down like raindrops. Shua shua shua. The lightsabers fell, and were locked in that range. The commanders and generals were almost turned into ashes in seconds. Several thunder squids that were stabbed in the vitals also fell directly into the sea. At this time, the mountain-like giant turtle seemed to stand up in the sea. The sea water was also directly mobilized by it, and finally condensed into ice shields one after another. Boom. Although the power of the lightsaber was very strong, it was mostly offset by the resistance of the ice shield of the frost turtle. The giant with a bull's head and a fish's body also gathered power on the sea surface, like a mouth swallowing the sky, biting towards more than 10 mages. Those here were either superclass great perfection, or forbidden spell level mages, and there were even half-step forbidden spells. Naturally, they would not be swallowed by it. Bang! A huge sound was heard when the big mouth closed. Evil beast, don't know whether to live or die. Wuhi looked at the big monster that wanted to fall into the water after failing to hit it and cast the virtual dark execution ground. After the darkness included the opponent, Wuhi directly merged into it. Damn it. After seeing Wuhi, a forbidden spell mage, personally take action, Mirita, who squinted his eyes, opened his slit eyes. The other superclass mages also launched attacks on the sea monster monarchs here. The Star Palace flickered from time to time, and the ocean was rolling up huge waves. However, this time it was not the sea monsters that were causing trouble, but the relationship between these mages and these monarchs. Boom. Rumble. The sea water was touched by the superclass magic, and thousands of sea monsters were either blown up in the sky, or died in the sea, and fell into this dead sea. There were still many people fighting where Tang Mao was. It seemed that these great mages also noticed it, so when they started the battle, they deliberately attracted these sea monster monarchs to the place where the sea monsters were constantly coming. Boom. Just after a few minutes, the terrifying wind attribute energy suddenly came out from the virtual dark execution ground. The next moment, the bull-headed sea monster wrapped in it was like losing gravity and was impacted into the distance. Master Wu He is mighty. Master Wu He is worthy of being one of the top 100 strong men in the world's heavenly list. Seeing that the old man who took action first had solved the battle, the mages who arrived here with him all started to flatter him. Compared to their admiration, Wu He shook his head and sighed. I'm old, but I was actually run away by this beast. Hearing this, everyone was stunned. They thought that the old man had killed the other party, but it was not the case. At this time, the other two mages also ended their battles. The frost turtle, which had strong defensive power, still escaped at the last moment. The opponent, who was famous for its defensive power, could not be easily killed even by the forbidden spell mage. And these thunder squids can be said to be the weakest among the demonic creatures. Not a tribe, they are almost scum fighting alone. Master Wu He, should we help them? The only middle-aged woman in the team asked. For the sake of the overall situation, we must save magic energy. If the 1000-year fox dies, these sacrifices will continue. Before Wu He spoke, one of the forbidden spells spoke. Although I know that the other party is thinking about the overall situation, there are at least tens of thousands of people here. It still makes this middle-aged woman feel uncomfortable to give up. Seeing the other party's dissatisfaction, Wu He said, Danghei City has been destroyed. If we waste magic energy to save them now, we may not be able to fight again in the future. When that time comes, I don't know how many famous people in the empire will die tragically. Yes, the middle-aged woman paused after hearing this, and then lowered her head to respond. Puff. At this moment, a fluffy pillar suddenly appeared on the water. This pillar almost pierced through the woman in front of Wu He as soon as it appeared. Fortunately, Wu He reacted quickly enough and condensed a layer of earth shield to block the opponent's attack. Puff puff puff. Immediately afterwards, several more fluffy pillars rose up from the sea. However, with the death of the middle-aged man before, the other magicians naturally became alert. When this pillar penetrated, they each used their own magic weapons, magic tools, or powerful defensive magic. Bang bang bang. Fortunately, these people are all top-notch in whether it is strength or equipment, they are all top-notch stuff. This is why he was not pierced through the body at once, but was only beaten back a little. When Tang Mao saw these wall pillars, he was also dumbfounded. The nine-tailed fox emperor actually came, and it was under this sea area. Question mark? Damn it, everyone be careful. Wu He also reacted immediately at this time. The decapitation target they were going to complete was actually in this sea area. Exclamation mark. Chapter 715, The Power of the Emperor. In fact, without Wu He's reminder, everyone noticed something was wrong under the sea. Especially Mirita. He had fought with the nine-tailed fox emperor once, and when he saw the fluffy pillars that soared to the sky, he immediately reacted, isn't this the opponent's nine tails? Gilulu gilulu gilulu. At the same time, there were bursts of bubbling sounds in the sea. It seems that something is about to rush to the surface of the sea. Be careful. Mirita looked at this scene and immediately said, even if he didn't remind them, the other superclass mages would remain 120% alert. There is no way. One strike killed a superclass great perfection mage. How dare they be careless? Question mark. Now, when the sea surface suddenly bulged, the nine-tailed fox emperor also appeared, and the nine sky-high tails slowly disappeared. As for the strange cry, it was a dark gold tiger shark. This is also a supreme monarch at the top of the food chain. On the head of the dark gold tiger shark, the nine-tailed fox emperor, who had a stone seat, slowly stood up. With just one glance, the description of her in his heart was only gentle like jade, beautiful like a flower, and stunning. Judging from her temperament, among all the women in Tangmao, only two people can compare with her. That is naturally Jiang Shaoxu, who has been developed to the extreme, and Asha Ruaya. Of course, even if they are a little charming, there is still a big gap with each other. Think about it, she is a real fox spirit and the two of them are just born with charming bones. Seeing its true form, almost everyone present, except Mirita, was dumbfounded. Even if Tang Mao had a blind thought, he also felt a slight sigh. If he could sign a contract with this fox, Apis would inexplicably not be fragrant. Although Apis is also a charming beauty, compared with the nine-tailed fox emperor who is full of temptation in every gesture and smile, there is obviously a huge gap. He knows that the other party's mental power must be very strong. After all, even he didn't notice her breath for so long. Let's go together and keep her here forever at all costs. After a brief moment of distraction, he was the first to come back to his senses. He was an old man who was about to be buried, so he would naturally not be attracted by beauty. What's more, the peerless beauty in front of him was just a fake skin. A demon is a demon, and no matter how beautiful the skin is, it can't be a human. The moment he finished speaking, several people began to describe the Star Palace together. The three old men who knew forbidden spells retreated a little, and they began to work together to complete a forbidden spell formation. The Fox Emperor looked at the more than 10 superclass Great Perfection mages who rushed over, smiled disdainfully, and said, "Today's human beings are really worse than the previous generation, and they still want to own this land." Sure. As her beautiful and charming magic sound came out, the Star Palaces of the dozen superclass mages collapsed instantly. At the same time, the nine-tailed fox emerged again and whipped several superclass mages. Seeing the collapse of the Star Palace, several people immediately used their own magic tools. But at the same time, an extremely cold air suddenly appeared on the Fox Emperor's tail. Bang bang bang. This time, her tail seemed to be calculated by tonnage. This blow almost broke all the defensive magic weapons and magic tools they used. Even some mages who had no means of defense were directly hit and flew dozens of miles away. The nine-tailed Fox Emperor easily repelled these superclass perfect mages and then looked at the three forbidden spells. How could she not see that these old men wanted to use forbidden spell formations? Any magic formation will be several times more powerful than a single magic. Her beautiful eyes glared, and then a powerful mental shock attacked. The three forbidden spell mages seemed to have been prepared. At the moment, when her mental magic attacked, a colorless light wave suddenly enveloped the three people. "Humph, Demon Fox, do you think we will come to you without any preparation?" Murata said with red eyes. He hated the big demon in front of him. After all, the last time the Fox Emperor died, it was his relatives who died. Seeing that the other party had a magic weapon to prevent the mind magic, the Fox Emperor was also slightly stunned. Now, the dark gold tiger shark under her feet suddenly jumped up and bit the old wizards who were about to cast the forbidden spell formation. Thunder Ring Punishment. At this moment, the Thunder Wizard who had just resisted one tail completed the Thunder Star Palace at the same time, and then 9 Thunder God Halberds fell. The power of this Thunder Halberd may not be as powerful as Tang Mao's Thunder Halberd, but its power should not be underestimated. However, the Shark King seemed to ignore it. Boom. Boom boom. When the Thunder Halberds fell into the tiger shark's body, a destructive current immediately broke out. At the same time, the current began to explode on its body. But in front of the opponent's dark goldfish scales, it was completely useless? It can even be called a scraping. Swoosh. In the place where the thunder and lightning were dense, a tail suddenly rushed straight into the sky. This position was naturally where the Thunder Master was. Wind wings, guard, puff. At the most critical moment, the Thunder Master cast a wind wing and also wore a high-grade armor magic tool. But even so, the tail still opened a hole in his stomach. A mere ant, don't know whether to live or die. The nine-tailed Fox Emperor is at least an Emperor level, not a special armor magic tool. How can it block her attack? What's more, this tail also contains a strong ice element power. The super level Great Perfection Mage is naturally not without good equipment. It's just that it was broken when he just resisted. As for the high grade magic weapon, there is no chance to use it at this time. Another super level Great Perfection is cool. Several super level mages next to him were all sweating. But even so, they still did not retreat, but each completed the Star Palace, and thunder, fire, strong winds, and explosive waves rushed towards the nine-tailed Fox Emperor in an instant. Ice Domain. The superclass magic of one person may not have much impact on the tiger shark. However, the power of several superclass magics combined is obviously very different. When the Fox Emperor saw this, the Nine-Tailed appeared behind him, and layers of ice walls appeared out of thin air. Boom. Boom. The superclass combined attack was still useless, and was completely offset. The next moment, the powerful mind magic swept away, directly depriving them of the opportunity to release superclass magic. The tiger sharks also surged, and huge waves rushed into the sky. They were instantly surrounded by Zuanru. However, the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor's target was not these superclass mages, so she did not kill them. Instead, the Nine-Tailed rushed straight to the 3 forbidden spell mages. God bless you. At the moment, when the Nine-Tailed attacked, a huge golden figure emerged. The 3 people who were casting spells were perfectly wrapped in it. Superclass mages have many trump cards, not to mention forbidden spell mages. Bang, bang, bang. The Nine-Tails with extremely strong penetrating power gathered together and hit the light wall, but it didn't even cause it to break at all. Chapter 716. Forbidden Spell Array. Destroy everything. Tang Maro, who was hiding in the dark, saw this scene and thought to himself, what kind of magic weapon is this? Its defense is so strong. Just when he was surprised, the Fox Emperor bombed again. In an instant, hail continued to fall over the entire sea area. The cold air instantly covered the entire sea area, and the vast and boundless sea water turned into thick frost at this moment. With her casting a spell, I'm afraid that tens of thousands of sea monsters will become ice sculptures at this moment. However, the life and death of the little monsters are not important to her at all. After she exerted her strength and attacked, the golden figure became illusory under the continuous impact. Bang! The superclass mages who were knocked underwater and frozen before also rushed out from under the ice at this time. Phoenix Dance Sky Flame. After appearing from the ice, the fire mage released his strongest attack. However, under the suppression of the cold air in this icy and snowy land, the power of his flame was obviously suppressed a lot. If it had not been suppressed, the power of the opponent's attack would have almost surpassed Tang Mao's high-level magic. Purgatory Flame Dragon. Sizzle, sizzle, sizzle. When the flame feathers hit the Nine-Tailed Fox less than 100 meters away, they were suddenly dissolved by her cold air. The fire mage was stunned for a moment. His strongest attack was blocked just like that? Question mark? Even when the tail came through, the fire mage could not come back to his senses. He didn't even have the intention to defend or dodge. This wave was too much of a blow. Fortunately, when another space mage saw something wrong, he rushed over. At the moment, when the Fox Emperor attacked, he pulled him away. When the tail passed by, the space everywhere appeared frozen. The rescued fire mage said stupidly, "This is the Emperor level demon." The space mage naturally understood that this brother had suffered a great blow. But he still said, "Don't give up. As long as Master Wuhi and the others complete the forbidden spell formation, there is still hope." After hearing what the other party said, he nodded and regained a bit of fighting spirit. He didn't need to defeat the other party. At the moment, he was completely buying opportunities for those forbidden spell mages. Looking at the golden figure, which was almost about to disappear, the fire mage said, "I know, let's go. We must buy enough time for the 3 adults." Bang, bang, bang. At this time, 3 more superclass mages appeared under the thick ice. Zyrozegen, are there others? Looking at the 3 people who appeared, the space mage was first happy, and then immediately asked, "Under the deep sea, there are many sea monsters. In addition to the 3 of us who came out, the man called Zyrozegen sighed unwillingly. Damn it." After muttering something in bird language, he looked at the 3 people and said, "Let's go. We must not let this demon fox destroy the forbidden spell formation of the 3 adults." Originally there were 2 people, but now there are 5 people. Their confidence increased a lot in an instant. Unlike when they came before, their winged magic tools have now become a new look. Looking at the 5 people who rushed into the sky, and the 3 old men who were constantly completing a forbidden spell formation, Tang Mao took the opportunity to break the ice accumulated on his body from the ice building. Before the Fox Emperor released cold air, the place where Tang Mao was naturally inevitably frozen. However, he did not make any moves, and continued to observe quietly here. As for the ice element, although there is a kind of piercing coldness, it is still resistible for Tang Mao. After all, even if it is an ordinary superclass mage, it is just a freezing of the momentum just now. it will not have much effect if it is frozen. What's more, not to mention that his ice system has been sublimated now, plus the help of the snow girl, it is even less likely to be frozen to the point of being unable to move. After breaking through the ice, Tang Mao did not hide his intentions. He spread his wings of wind and flew away. Neither the demon fox nor the R-class mages cared about this at all. After all, they all have their own goals now. The reason why Tang Mao left was because he felt that the forbidden spell formation was about to be completed. The power in it was full of a sense of destruction. Even if it was not completed yet, it made people feel irresistible. Even in Tang Mao's opinion, even if he had the black dragon magic armor, he would still be beaten half to death if he endured it here. In front of the Emperor, the superclass perfection was the same as the primary and intermediate mages. Just when he had escaped 100 miles away, a shocking sound suddenly came from behind. Looking back, it seemed to be thunder magic. It also seemed to be dark magic, or even dimensional magic. In short, it was like a huge hole in the sky, and in that hole, the impact of destroying the world landed directly below. Almost in the next second, a mushroom cloud instantly rose up. Even if it had already run 100 miles away, you could still see the ice rising into the sky, the dense sea monsters being swept up in it, and finally completely disappearing in the mushroom cloud. A forbidden spell master can make a place where he casts spells barren for several years. And the forbidden spell formation used by 3 forbidden spells can affect an area of dozens of miles, or even more. It can be said that, even if these sea monsters can be driven away, this sea battle city is probably ruined. However, judging from the demonic aura emitted from afar, the 9-tailed demon fox obviously did not die yet. Question mark? Tut tut tut. Without giving Tang Mao too many opportunities to be a spectator, a bunch of 4-eyed gulls came from nowhere in the air, and the moment they saw him, they launched an attack. Puff. Moreover, sea monsters emerged from the water one by one. It seemed that their target was Tang Mao. But think about it, there are millions of demons, and it is obviously unrealistic to expect them all to appear in Donghae City at once. Even though it was already 100 miles away, it was normal that there were still a large number of demons. But a group of generals and commanders dared to attack him? Shadow Evil. Kill. He would not miss such a deadly opportunity. After Shadow Evil emerged, a punch of black energy covered a large area here, and the Black Army also stepped on the sea covered by black energy. Holding black swords, they stared at the sea monsters that burst out of the sea water fiercely, and almost left them completely in this black space one by one. As for the ones in the air, when Tang Mao used the power of space and wind to forcibly condense them together, it was just a matter of Shadow Evil's sword. Chapter 717. Heavenly Ranking Master. In the battlefield of the key, if he didn't turn into a demon, even he would have no chance to get started. No matter if he was Lei Xiang or Huo Meng, a mental shock would be in vain. The black dragon magic armor is indeed immune to the elemental magic damage under the forbidden spell, and even if it is at the forbidden spell level, it can offset it. However, being able to offset does not mean that there is no damage. In this case, the battle between the real strong is completely out of his reach. Moreover, once you cross the threshold of the monarch and reach the emperor, it really feels like there is no solution. It is not a concept at all. It should be said that the 3 old devils are also quite powerful. Especially the old man named Wu He. Maybe he can even wrestle with Sulu, who is shameless. However, it seems that no one in the world has heard of this person? Question mark? It seems that, when I go back, I have to check it out carefully. These so-called top 100 in the world are all those people. While Tang Mao was thinking, Ying Jiang had perfectly turned all the sea monsters and feather monsters that appeared into his own nutrients and absorbed them completely. It can be said that in a moment, tens of thousands of demons here were gone. Boom. Hua. At the same time, in the distance, a huge gust of wind rolled up that tsunami. It seemed that it was not the magician who was fighting, but the wrath of heaven, and it was a natural disaster that caused great damage. However, Tang Mao knew very well that it was the forbidden spell mage who was casting magic. And since the battle was still going on, it meant that the 9-tailed fox emperor did not die under the attack of the forbidden spell array just now. It is really hard to imagine that he can continue to fight under such a terrifying attack. The strength of this nine-tailed fox emperor must be at least a mid-level emperor, right? Question mark? After all, the demonized emperor before him might not be able to withstand this attack. Of course, that was in the past. Now, he has not tried it, so he is not very clear. Although he really wants to go and see this battle, his reason tells him that it is time to slip away. No matter what, Donghei City is now completely ruined. As for whether Tokyo can survive, it is unknown. In fact, these mages did not do nothing. At least, those powerful monarchs were almost all dead or injured. Back at the Xuanshao Pavilion, Lingling was still sitting in front of the computer, searching for something. Apis was watching their board. You're back. How is it? Is Donghei City okay? After hearing the noise, Lingling turned around and asked, and then continued to work on the computer. When I rushed there, Donghei City was gone. Tang Mao shook his head, and then told Lingling about the forbidden spell mages in our Lingling was slightly stunned when she learned that the forbidden spell mages were dispatched, and they were among the top 100 masters in the world. The Sea War City has been devastated for almost a year. Even if there are too many sea monsters, it won't fall so quickly, right? After all, sea monsters can't all be mastered in one go. Maybe it's the magic of tens of thousands of sea monsters using the seawater? Tang Mao guessed. No, it's impossible. Lingling immediately shook her head and retorted, unless the mages in Donghei City are all pigs. Otherwise, this kind of thing is absolutely impossible to happen. Then I don't know. Forget it. Let's not talk about this. Lingling, you should find the world's heavenly ranking for me. I'm very curious. Tang Mao didn't care much about this. However, Lingling was obviously very curious. Although this is the coastline of that was collapsed and broken, what if it is the coastline of China next time? This kind of thing is somewhat weird. More importantly, the mages here are very good at naval battles. Although I don't want to admit it, the Chinese Navy is not as good as their country that has been engaged in naval battles all year round. This matter must be investigated clearly. What if it is our Chinese coastline next time and encounters such a result? Lingling continued. Tang Mao paused and had to say again, then where do you think the weirdness is? I just think it's too outrageous, but where is the weirdness? How do I know? I didn't go. Lingling pouted and said dissatisfiedly. So, you should help me see how many old men from China are on the heavenly ranking. Tang Mao continued. Lingling saw that Tang Mao was particularly concerned about this matter, so she had to help him check it first. The world distribution rankings are Heaven, Earth, Zuan, and Huang. Of course, the real top 100 masters are in Heaven and Earth. It is easy to investigate these news, but it is also difficult. If Tang Mao does it himself, he can hardly find anything. But let Lingling come, and a click search came out. The first master on the heavenly ranking is from North America, and the second is from South America. Until the 18th, Tang Mao finally saw a nation, and he is from China. But he is not Hua Xinhong, but a man named Jiang Shanlian. The surname Jiang, or the forbidden spell. This special code is probably my father-in-law? Tang Mao thought silently in his heart. Speaking of which, Jiang Shaoxu's father seems to be in charge of the central part. In the future, there are 2 forbidden spells in China, ranked 57th and 18th. One of them is Hua Xinhong, and the other is Ai Junhe. These 2 are not too unfamiliar to me. One is in charge of the south and the other is Ai Junhe. One seems to be very optimistic about me, because he governs the south. The other, speaking of it, is also my father-in-law. When he went down to the top 80, Tang Mao finally saw Wu He's name. Speaking of it, both of his father-in-laws are in the top 100, and Tang Mao was a little bit proud of himself. After browsing the Xianbang strongman, Tang Mao sighed and said, Wu He's strength, plus 2 forbidden spells. I'm afraid he is not the opponent of the nine-tailed fox emperor. If the demon emperors in this world want to attack humans, then we humans, do we still have a chance? Although no emperor has been killed from ancient times to the present, no emperor has personally launched an attack on the human territory. Lingling said, it's just that Hufu, a fool who doesn't know how to live or die, wants to step into the land of China. Now his nest is afraid that it will be broken. Tang Mao said with a smile. Although it seems that the ancient king's attack on the underworld is a good thing for us humans for the time being, as its power grows, dark things are constantly born. Moreover, have you ever thought about what they will do once their subordinates suffer heavy losses and need to replenish their troops? Lingling was not very optimistic about this matter. Listening to Lingling's words, Tang Mao always felt so familiar. It seemed as if he had heard it somewhere before. The Demon King will not attack casually, and even if he does, he will not do it personally like this stupid fox. At this time, Apis also spoke. Why? Tang Mao asked back. After all, not all demons work together. Apis continued, just like my mother Queen Medusa, even if she wants to attack humans, even if she wants to seize resources, she never takes action personally. Unless it is necessary. Otherwise, if the emperor takes action and suffers losses, other demon kings will not miss such an opportunity. Tang Mao and Lingling were both stunned, just looking at Apis stupidly. Apis said again, don't look at me like that. It's the same as a human named Sulu whom you offended before. You killed so many of his men, and his power was obviously severely damaged. That's why he has abdicated and made way for others. For monsters, if a monster emperor or a pseudo-emperor is severely injured, will the neighboring emperors give it a chance to recover? Even if it's just a pseudo-emperor, after being swallowed, the power obtained is very strong. Lingling's eyes lit up, and then asked, then you mean that you monsters can kill your companions and get energy? Of course not. Apis shook his head, and then said, only creatures above the monarch level can possess source power, but only those who have surpassed the realm of pseudo-emperor can truly absorb it. Otherwise, do you think I can still live until now? Although it sounds outrageous, but hearing what you said, it is also a good thing for humans. Tang Mao said. Otherwise, do you think this enclosed area is your umbrella of protection? Both of them chose to ignore Apis's disdain. After all, they are of different races, so there is nothing to argue about. But one thing is true, monsters are stronger than humans, both in number and strength. Like Emofan, he became a god of magic later, but the monsters in the world still exist. Then, Tang Mao looked at the list of the Earth list again. Speaking of which, he was still quite curious, would his name be here? Lingling curled her lips and said, how can you, a superclass small perfection, squeeze into the top 100 in the world? Open it and take a look. Although Tang Mao also felt that it was impossible, he was still curious. However, his title of the first person under the forbidden spell is not just talk, right? As for the several superclass great perfections who fought with the nine-tailed fox emperor there before, in Tang Mao's opinion, they are really not as good as himself. As long as he is given a chance to make a move, they are just younger brothers. Seeing Tang Mao's request, and also searching here, Lingling simply clicked it. After clicking it, Lingling was stunned. Then, Lingling said, you are here. Oh, is it the top 10? Tang Mao asked hurriedly. Although he said that he didn't care about the ranking, he obviously didn't think so in his heart. Sometimes false reputation is also very rare. Of course, that's his own situation. If it's someone else, he will only be jealous. 99th is you. Lingling held a small notebook and handed it to Tang Mao. It was written on it, 99th on the Earth list, Chinese, Tang Mao. Damn, these shameless people. The destructive power of my explosion is actually worthy of 99. Tang Mao said to satisfiedly. Are you blind? Take a good look at the ages of these people, and if their cultivation is not wrong, they should all be the kind of people who have half a foot in the forbidden spell. Lingling saw that Tang Mao was still dissatisfied, and she was really a little convinced. Being ranked 99th in the world, the first person under the forbidden spell, is indeed something to brag about. Moreover, this is Tang Mao's current minor perfection. When he reaches the major perfection, Lingling can hardly imagine what level this guy will reach. Of course, this is still data after all. It is not clear whether it is really that strong. After all, mages above the super level are not allowed to fight internally. Okay, you have seen it, don't bother me. I must find out how Donghai City was lost. Describe to me all the sea monsters you saw. Tang Mao said all the names he knew, and described the appearance of those he didn't know for Lingling to search. Lingling found a similar picture and asked Tang Mao to verify it. In this way, after a full hour, Lingling finally found all these various sea monsters. Of course, Tang Mao didn't tell Lingling about the dead monarchs. After all, those monarchs arrived later, but they told Lingling about the feather monsters they saw. In fact, Tang Mao initially thought that the feather monster broke through the high dam, and then the sea monster released a big tide. But according to Lingling's guess, this is impossible. First, the dam is not so easy to be destroyed, and the mages on the dam are not all stupid. Tang Mao thought it made sense, and if Lingling's matter was not clarified, it would be a disaster for their own country, so he started to investigate seriously. After a while, Lingling heard some inappropriate actions of Tang Mao and Apis, and she immediately roared fiercely, "Hey, you two don't perform here, get out of here. Stinky girl, are you jealous? How about you join in?" Apis seemed to like talking to many people. Not only did she not care about Lingling's attitude, but she also took the initiative to invite her. There was no way she couldn't talk by herself. This chat lasted for a whole night. Without someone to share the burden, she was really worried that she would not see the sun tomorrow. For the broad-minded Apis, Tang Mao felt that she was worthy of being her contracted beast and knew my heart well. Get out. However, Lingling's response was the same. Seeing that Lingling was about to explode, Tang Mao had to take Apis away. Besides, Lingling is so cute, how can I bear to do anything to her now? At least I have to drag Lingling, the mature woman, into the water first, before I can think about Lingling. Anyway, little Lingling doesn't care about these things. After the master and servant left, they found Mochizuki Chiksen. She didn't even say the news she wanted to say, and was led into the rhythm by the two of them. Unknowingly, Apis, the assistant, is really getting better and better. P.S. There may be another update tomorrow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 718 Misfortunes never come singly. Late at night, Chiksen Mochizuki lay there like a dead body, not wanting to move at all. Even Tang Mao and Apis used her as a pillow. She didn't care much. What did you want to say just now? Without the excitement just now, Tang Mao asked what Chiksen Mochizuki wanted to say several times but couldn't say. Chiksen Mochizuki's eyelids moved, and then said, "By the way, I just wanted to tell you that the reason why the sea monsters evacuated is because they all gathered in the Sea War City. We already knew this, and I thought you were going to say something. Such a strong spirit of resistance." Apis turned over and buried his head in his muttering. It seems that she is also very sleepy and wants to rest. But it is also true that the little beauty snake used to be either sleeping or preparing to sleep. Even if she later had new fun, she still needed to have a beauty sleep. There is no way she didn't need to consume physical energy before, but now it is different, and it consumes a lot. How did you know? Mochizuki Chiksen was stunned. You know, even if she knew about this, it was already afternoon. Moreover, she was ready to tell Tang Mao and the others as soon as possible. Unexpectedly, they already knew it. I not only know that the sea monsters gathered in Danhei City, but also know that the coastline there has been destroyed. In addition, several forbidden spells in your country and more than a dozen super level great perfection mages went to support together, but now I guess there are not many people who can breathe. After all, when he left, the battle there was still going on. Mochizuki Chiksen was stunned again. After all, what she knew was just the decapitation operation. As for the rest, she didn't know anything at all. But Tang Mao actually knew it so clearly? The most important thing is, what did Mochizuki Chiksen hear? The sea battle city was lost? Few of the top strongmen in R, who went to support, were able to breathe. You know, these are 3 forbidden spell mages, and more than a dozen top domestic mages. Even the famous Sword of the Moon Watching could not be compared with one of them. Where did you hear that? Mochizuki Kyanksen looked at Tang Mao curiously and asked. Because when I learned that the sea monsters gathered there, I rushed there. Unfortunately, when I arrived, it was already submerged by the sea, and although the forbidden spell mages and superclass mages in your country fought hard, I felt that they were in danger. Tang Mao did not hide anything and said directly, "Anyway, after tonight, there are only 3 days left before the agreed time. Speaking of which, a few R-class forbidden spell mages are really at a loss. If they can be patient, plus the previous 2, and their emperor, maybe they can work together to deal with the nine-tailed fox emperor, and I think it is not without a chance. After all, their bird emperor is also ranked in the top 30. Although the data may not be true, since they can be in the front row, they must have the strength they should have. And at this time, they are still distributed, and they are still doing this kind of good baby saving grandfather thing, which is simply hopeless. Tang Mao didn't know that in fact, the current R-class is not only a threat from sea monsters. Even the demons on land are attacking fiercely at various borders. This moment is simply the end of the world for R. The saddest thing is that there is no place to ask for help now. There is no way. Several major countries have to defend their own countries. The Asian Magic Association also gave a 7-day hope. After hearing what Tang Mao said, Mochizuki Kyanksen sat up directly. "No, I have to report and let everyone prepare for the battle. If the Sea War City falls, then the days of Xuanshao Pavilion will be even worse. A group of little demons have fought bloody battles and become like this. If all the demons come, Mochizuki Kyanksen actually doesn't know what to do. After all, millions of demons, that's not tens of thousands, that's millions. Xuanshao Pavilion is afraid that it can't stand it at all. Why go? Even if you say it, what can you do? Whether it is strength or quantity, the sea monsters have the greatest advantage. As long as they come in groups, I will take you away immediately." Tang Mao stopped Mochizuki Kyanksen. It's not that he doesn't care about the life and death of Arwell, he really doesn't care. As I said before, I won't get involved in irrelevant matters. The most important thing is that with that kind of situation, Xuanshao Pavilion can't defend it at all. Mochizuki Kyanksen also knew what Tang Mao meant, but she really couldn't give up her family and leave with him. So for a while, the air fell into silence. Go to sleep. The forbidden spell magic formation completed by the 3 forbidden spell masters can at least cause some damage to the Fox Emperor, even if it can't kill it. Tang Mao thought that, as long as this time can be delayed for 3 days, he will definitely not hesitate at all, and must take Mochizuki Kyanksen away. Rest. I think there should be some results tomorrow. Whether your country's forbidden spell wins or the Fox Emperor wins, it can only depend on their luck and cooperation. Tang Mao said again. The next morning, Mochizuki Kyanksen went to ask for news, and Ling Ling seemed to be immersed in research. There was no news at all. Today is the 4th day. Until the evening, there was no alarm. But Mochizuki Kyanksen came back and confirmed what Tang Mao said. The Sea War City has been destroyed, and almost no one is left alive there. However, the Fox Emperor seems to be injured, and she has no intention of moving forward. Of course, the sirens may be enjoying a feast, and some may attack nearby towns and villages. Without the defense of the coastline, the sirens are indeed more rampant. In this troubled time, Mochizuki Kyanksen told Tang Mao about the things on land. On land, 2 large cities were lost yesterday. With the loss of these 2 cities, the land demons began to attack villages and towns continuously, and humans became the food for these demons. It can be said that the bad news is almost one after another. The country, which was originally the size of a palm, is now occupied by some sirens and land demons. The place where humans are active has shrunk by half. Now the Fox Emperor may really be injured, which gave the R-based mages a chance to breathe. But 1 or 2 days of calm may be a precursor to a new storm. After all, even if the 9-tailed Fox Emperor was injured, he still had millions of subordinates. Chapter 719. But the day after tomorrow is the 7th day. If the situation is not right, Tang Mao will just take Mochizuki Kyanksen and leave directly. In fact, if R is really conquered, it will not be a good thing for China. After all, the 2 countries are neighbors, especially under the command of the 9-tailed Fox Emperor. There are many sea monsters. It can be said that, as long as she has an idea, these millions of demons can completely march towards China. After occupying our especially in her demon army, there are a large number of sea monsters, and the coastline of the magic city is likely to become the first line battlefield. She attacked R because it was originally her territory. But, to be honest, this nine-tailed fox seems to be a big demon that escaped from China. So, if she has some little thoughts, who knows if she will really continue to expand her territory? What are you thinking about? Apis looked at Tang Mao. Didn't she pay attention to the meaning of moving tonight? If the breath was not right, if there was no hand playing with her, she would think that the person in front of her might be a fake Tang Mao. But he was addicted to it. But Apis was not happy. This was just a free ride. She was not happy. I wonder if the nine-tailed fox emperor was injured. If she was, can I give her a contract? Tang Mao said. Speaking of which, his summoning skills were a bit outrageous. Other people's superclass summoning skills should be able to summon some special things. But his didn't. But there was one more contract position. Of course, he didn't want to leave this extra contract position empty. You didn't drink tonight. Why are you talking drunkenly? Apis blinked her beautiful eyes and asked seriously. Well, although Tang Mao didn't think about this just now, he was just perfunctory at the moment. But why was he inexplicably despised? Question mark? How can it be drunken talk? You are not contracted by me. Tang Mao asked back. Can it be the same? I was in the molting period at that time, and I was only a monarch. Apis said, rolling her eyes at Tang Mao. To contract with the emperor, unless you have power beyond it. At least you have to reach the level of forbidden spells, right? According to what you said, if I don't have forbidden spells, I can't contract with the other party? Tang Mao asked again. It can be, but if you can contract, she can also forcibly remove the association. Fuck. Is the emperor so awesome? Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly, and he said a little weakly. Besides, why do you want these unrealistic things? Apis curled her lips and continued. Can you contract it just by thinking? Ring 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 dong dong dong. Before Tang Mao could reply, a burst of alarm bells suddenly rang from the West Guard pavilion. It seems that something is going on. Why is it so noisy at this time? Hearing the constant noise coming from outside, Apis complained dissatisfiedly. Let's go and have a look. After all, he was invited to help, and he also wanted to know what was going on. Tang Mao pulled his hand away and stood up. Apis had to put it back on, and then followed behind with a dissatisfied look on his face. When the two arrived at Shangji, they were already ready for battle. In fact, when they came here, Tang Mao immediately felt that a large number of demons gathered in the sea. It just puzzled him that the sea battle city had been taken down, so why did they turn back to attack Xuanshao Pavilion? Tokyo has been lost, and I didn't expect that this group of demons would want to occupy this place as well. Wang Guimingjian looked at Tang Mao and explained. Looking at his gritting teeth, you can tell how much he hates these demons. Tang Mao explored carefully and then said, I think they are demons who left the main force privately. The number of people here is only one tribe. Although the sea seems to be densely packed, there is not even a monarch creature among them. Tens of thousands of demons will not cause much damage to Xuanshao Pavilion. After all, there are 4 or 5 superclass mages here. Of course, this number is nothing to someone like Tang Mao who can destroy thousands or even tens of thousands with one skill. But the defenders here are different. If they hadn't experienced such a long period of death battle before, they would still be very panicked about the tens of thousands of sea monsters gathering under the city. But they survived such a difficult time, and now the defense measures have been completely repaired. They really have nothing to panic about. However, what is puzzling is that after these sea monsters arrived here, they did not intend to launch an attack. Instead, they just stayed quietly outside the attack range of high-level magicians. At this distance, even ordinary super-level magicians would not cause much damage. What are these sea monsters doing? Aren't they going to attack? Wang Guimingjian was indeed relieved when he learned that it was only a demon tribe, or a tribe without a monarch, that came here. Compared with the previous hell mode, this is much better. Moreover, it only takes one more day. The magic associations of the 5 continents in the world should send support here, right? Yes, even now, Wang Guimingjian still holds a glimmer of hope in his heart. Tang Mao actually wanted to know if the magic association would really come to help her. In fact, no matter how he thought about it, it was impossible. After all, the disappearance or existence of this place was not a very important thing for those who were only concerned with fighting for power and profit. Huahaha. Huahaha. At this moment, the seawater suddenly showed signs of rolling and even began to surge. The water surface was rising at a speed that was almost visible to the naked eye. Thinking of the destroyed dam that he had rushed to the Sea War City before, and Lingling's previous inference, Tang Mao reminded, although I'm not very clear about what these demons are doing, I suggest that you take the initiative to attack. The reason why the Sea War City was lost is because it was submerged by the seawater, and the sea monsters had a great advantage. Wang Guimingjian actually saw something wrong, but this creature on the sea, isn't it a shirt demon? Although this creature is also a kind of sea monster, they shouldn't have the ability to cause a tsunami, right? Can you explore if there are other demons under the water? Although these shirt demons can control the seawater, they can't make the sea surface so fast, Wang Guimingjian said confidently. Hearing this, Tang Mao turned around and said, I'll try. The sound wave spread out instantly. Although his sound system is only at the initial stage of perfection, but his spiritual realm is powerful. Chapter 722 Days? Question mark? During this search, Tang Mao really found something wrong. There were actually sea spirit beasts in the sea. There were more than 10 sea spirit beasts. Obviously, this creature was very weak, but the high tide caused by them was terrifying. However, seeing the appearance of sea spirit beasts, it also meant that there should be a special demon that broke through Donghae City, right? After all, if the garrison mages of Donghae City noticed this thing, they would definitely fight to kill it. There was no way to give them a chance to create huge waves to destroy the dam. The most important thing was that when he arrived, he also searched and did not find any trace of the other party. It's a sea spirit beast. There are 10 sea spirit beasts here, Tang Mao said. Hearing this, Wang Guimingjian's face looked a little bad. As an old man who has been fighting against sea monsters for many years, how could he not know what this creature is? Wang Guiqiangxin's face was also very bad. With so many sea spirit beasts, Zishao Pavilion is afraid that it will follow the retreat of Donghae City. Don't make such a fuss, I'll kill them, Tang Mao said, and flew directly to the sea. Whether it was because of Wang Guiqiangxin or himself, he needed to kill these sea spirit beasts. Seeing Tang Mao flying out like this, Wang Guimingjian sighed. It's no wonder that he dares to call himself the number one under the forbidden spell, since he can treat the monsters of a tribe as nothing. Even some old guys don't have such courage and strength. He was busy dealing with sea monsters before, and he didn't know about the battle between Tang Mao and Zhu Xiangshan. It was only when he had some free time a few days ago that he knew about this. However, it should be said that Tang Mao is really crazy enough. I'm afraid that few people in the world dare to say such words, right? As a result, a young man in his 20s said it. Wang Guiqiangxin looked at Tang Mao, who was heading towards the sea monsters, and said to Wang Guimingjian, I'll go help him. Wang Guimingjian looked at the sea area and was about to speak. Boom hoo 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 hoo. However, he saw the riot of several elemental forces such as thunder, frost, and strong wind. It was obviously not a mid-level magic or a high-level magic, but the destructive power that burst out gave people a feeling that super-level magic was constantly released. Question mark? Tang Mao almost killed in front of a sea spirit beast in the blink of an eye. Bang! The powerful spatial pressure directly solved one. The nearby sea monsters did not move at all to protect the sea spirit beasts. After seeing a human rushing into their center, they naturally came towards Tang Mao with their fangs and claws. Thunder Domain. Boom boom. The moment the Thunder Domain was unfolded, the power seemed to be even more violent. Even if it was just a thunderbolt, it seemed to be a kind of destruction. In the area where Tang Mao was, no matter if they were at the general level or the command level, almost anyone who was close to or even next to the lightning patterns would be shattered immediately. However, he suddenly thought of something, and after thundering thousands of sea monsters, he slowly dispersed. Sea Domain. Zoo and Dark Execution Ground. Then, Tang Mao used the dark domain again. As soon as the huge figure of the shadow evil appeared, the whole sea area fell into endless darkness. And the sea monsters wrapped in this darkness naturally became the rations of the shadow evil army. This was almost like a carnival for the dark army. It was more like the ordinary people dealing with the monsters after they entered the realm. Wang Gaiu Kaiangson and Wang Gaiu Mingjian looked at the thousands of sea monsters that had been solved before and the area covered by the dark domain at present, and they were slightly stunned. Wang Gaiu Kaiangson, who was just about to help, suddenly felt that there was nothing he could do. Tang Mao seemed to be very excited about this kind of battle? Apis looked at Mochizuki Chiksen and said with a smile, what he is least afraid of is this kind of demon group that relies on numbers to attack. Besides, if it weren't for replenishing nutrients for the shadow evil, these sea monsters might have died faster. Mochizuki Chiksen looked back at Apis, then looked at the sea again, muttering to himself, his thunder system. His thunder system has also exerted its full power. It can be said that now his thunder has been added with the addition of the Great Heaven Seed. Apis and Tang Mao are contracted as one, and of course they are very clear about the changes in thunder and ice. Another Great Heaven Seed. Mochizuki Chiksen didn't react much, but Mochizuki Mingjian made him scream. It's not that he has never seen the world, but he really can't imagine that a 20-year-old young man actually has 2 Great Heaven Seeds. Even the forbidden spell mages in the world's heavenly list only have 1 or 2 small heaven seeds, right? The illusory thing of the Great Heaven Seed should not exist in the eyes of Mochizuki Mingjian, right? But from the destructive power of Tang Mao's magic and the thunder field just unfolded, he could feel the breath of violent destruction, which made him have to believe it. Why are you making such a fuss? Besides, who told you that he only has 2 heavenly species? Apis said in a shocking way. Wang Gaiu Mingjian didn't want to talk anymore. Comparing people is really annoying. Moreover, judging from Tang Mao's current age, his future prospects are truly limitless. The dark energy seems to be spreading. Will he be okay? Although Wang Gaiu Kaiangson was also surprised, she couldn't help but worry about Tang Mao. If these bastards can hurt him, then we should pack up and go back to Asanio City. After hearing what Apis said, Wang Gaiu Kaiangson was relieved. But for some reason, she felt a sour feeling in her heart. She had known Tang Mao for a long time, but in the end, she didn't know as much as Apis, who came later. It was inevitable that she felt a little disappointed. But compared with Apis, she really couldn't compare. There were times when Mochizuki Chiksen would rather be a demon. If she was contracted, there would be nothing wrong with it. At least she could follow Tang Mao closely. In the sea, Tang Mao stood quietly in the air, watching the dark army led by Yingsha fighting against the sea monsters. Of course, he had been solved by the sea beasts, otherwise, how could he dare to watch the show leisurely here when it was a matter of life and death? In this dark area, the strength of the dark army has been greatly enhanced. There are also the leaders of Yingsha to help, and the sea monsters are completely slaughtered. Some of them even want to run away, but before they rush out of this dark area, they are immediately smashed to pieces by lightning from Tang Mao. Of course, the dark army is not unscathed. After all, the sea monsters here are a whole tribe. One thing is certain, even if his own dark army has casualties, he will still make a profit in the end. After all, the demons of this tribe, under the processing of Yingsha, can definitely give birth to a new batch of dark army. The battle didn't last long. Half an hour later, the battle was over. There was no siren left on the sea. This wasn't the first time they had encountered this situation. They thought this should be of great help to him, right? Chapter 721 Give you all my love. A crisis for ordinary people is like a gas station for Tang Mao. Although some magic power was consumed, his own recovery speed is here. Moreover, in the end, it was only consumed by shadow evil. He didn't consume much magic power at all. After dealing with this batch of sea monsters, Tang Mao was about to return, and immediately noticed a large number of sea monsters coming here. Tang Mao stopped there, and waited for a moment, but what he didn't expect, was that this group of sea monsters seemed to be just passing by. There was no intention to attack the Xuanshao Pavilion. If it were someone else, they might turn around and leave. But for Tang Mao, Since he encountered them, it was a magic sweep of 4 or 5,000. How could he let them leave like this? With a sound of shur, the wings of wind spread out, and then he flew to the place where the large number of migrating sea monsters were located, the West Guard Pavilion. What is he doing again? Wang Guimingjian looked at Tang Mao flying away and muttered in confusion. Maybe they didn't have enough fun killing, and it just so happened that a sea monster tribe appeared nearby without a monarch level leader. Apathy speculated. Hearing this, the several superclass mages here didn't know what to say. Even mages like them who had already reached the superclass level would never risk going to the demons of a tribe and provoke them at will. Magicians are indeed very powerful when they reach the superclass, but no matter how powerful they are still mortals after all. Moreover, magic power is not unlimited. There are tens of thousands of demons in a tribe. If you are not careful, it is easy to fall. But Tang Mao seems to be the opposite. Tens of thousands of demons seem so vulnerable in front of him. Even after destroying a tribe, he even wants to destroy another one. If there are more people like him with abnormal combat power and strong magic power in the world, how can the demons be so rampant? I'll go and see. Although Mochizuki Kyankson also knew that Tang Mao was strong, she was really confused about his strength. If she waited here, she was obviously worried. Then, she rushed to where Tang Mao was. Mochizuki Kyankson was very fast, but when she came here searching for the dark magic breath, the battle on Tang Mao's side had already ended. After all, there were tens of thousands of sirens, chasing and killing all the way, and the distance alone was very long. This group of sirens may not have thought that they were just passing by, but they were chased and killed by such a crazy human all the way. Compared with dealing with those who ran away, he still prefers those who came towards him, because these sirens who ran away were too scattered. Even if it was destruction magic, it would be quite troublesome to kill them when they were scattered. The shadow evil army could not be summoned. After all, his dark field could not cover such a distance. Fortunately, in the end, this group of sirens launched a counterattack against his pursuit, and because of this, the battle ended so quickly. But this time, the sirens killed by the shadow system were extremely few. Most of them were struck by lightning, or frozen to death. Why are you here? Did something happen at Shuangshao Pavilion? Seeing Mochizuki Chixon rushing over, Tang Mao asked with a little doubt. I'm worried about you. Although the corpse of the sea monster here has already explained everything. But isn't she here because she is worried? You are so moist every day, but you still question my strength? Mochizuki Chixon paused and immediately understood what he meant and snorted lightly. Rogue. Let's go back, she said. Now that the sea area is flooded with monsters, who knows if there will be any tribal monsters passing by if we continue to stay here? Tang Mao didn't mean to continue. If he didn't confront him head on, even his destruction magic would not show its power. Moreover, if the magic associations of several continents really send reinforcement tomorrow, then he can take the opportunity to harvest a wave. After returning to Shuangshao Pavilion, Tang Mao, Apis and Mochizuki Chixon came to Lingling's residence. This little girl seemed to be possessed by a demon, constantly searching for information about the sea monster in this computer. But there was no surprise, and she didn't find a reason why the East Sea City Dam was suddenly destroyed. In fact, it's useless to worry about this now. After all, East Sea City has been abandoned. The forbidden spells cast by the 3 forbidden spell masters are definitely magical powers that destroy everything there. Whether it's demons or humans, they can't live there again. This time, even if they resisted the national disaster, the overall strength of the country will probably shrink a lot in the next few decades. Lingling, don't search anymore. If you can't find anything, it should be the 9-tailed fox who took action personally. She is an emperor level strength, and it's not difficult to destroy a dam. Tang Mao couldn't bear the little girl to continue like this, so he guessed. Although it seems to be a guess, it's actually the closest to the fact. After all, only an emperor level creature can destroy the dam in the shortest time and let that tsunami submerge East Sea City. I think so too. No matter where you see any kind of sea monster, they don't have the power to destroy easily. They don't even give the East Sea City magician a chance to ask for help. The one who possesses this power should be an imperial creature. However, what I don't understand is why this nine-tailed fox emperor is so eager to break through the Sea War City. Monarch level monsters will not do such a stupid thing as leading the way. Tang Mao shook his head and continued, don't embarrass yourself. Sometimes, even if you know the truth, but don't have a way to deal with it, it's better to pretend that you know nothing. Yeah, Ling Ling also understood that the reason she was still studying sea monsters was actually because she wanted to learn more. What kind of sea monsters have what weaknesses, and what kind of magic they are good at. Ling Ling almost has some knowledge of the monsters on land, but there are many different new species in the sea. Ling Ling is not Jiang Yu after all, but an encyclopedia of demons. But think about it, if she knows everything, she is not at this age. Okay, take a rest first. You are still growing up. Seeing that the little guy agreed, but still sitting there indifferently, Tang Mao picked her up directly. I'm done. She was not very resistant to being held, but she hadn't finished the things on hand. How could she rest? No, sleep. Tang Mao refused her without leaving any room. Now she should have a good rest, otherwise, if the future is not perfect, it will be her loss. Unlike Tang Yu, Ling Ling was raised seriously, since she was a child, and watched her grow up. This kind of upbringing naturally gets different care. Ling Ling still wanted to refuse, but Tang Mao said again, if you don't sleep well, I will stay here with you tonight. If you are sleepy later, I will hug you to sleep. Well, when she heard what Tang Mao said, Ling Ling immediately closed her beautiful eyes. She didn't think Tang Mao was joking. He could really do this. Mochizuki Chiksun, who was standing next to her, looked at Ling Ling, who had already started to sleep, and thought to herself, after all, she is just a little girl. She will fall asleep obediently after being scared. Apis, who was standing next to her, seemed to have seen through Mochizuki Chiksun's thoughts and said, he didn't mean to scare her. Huh. Mochizuki Chiksun didn't react for a while when Apis suddenly said this. After all, she was just thinking about it. Didn't you just think that the scum was just trying to scare her? Apis said again. How do you know? As she said this, Mochizuki Chiksun looked at Tang Mao again, and said with some anger, she is still a child. Hearing this, Tang Mao turned around with a confused look on his face. He really didn't pay attention to the whispers between the two. But for some reason, there was always a weird feeling when Mochizuki Chiksun looked at him. If you look closely, it's as if you are looking at a beast. Question mark? He didn't seem to have done anything that was harmful to the world. Let's go, let her have a good rest. Seeing that Ling Ling seemed to have not slept for a long time, and fell asleep after lying there for a while, Tang Mao said softly. Mochizuki Kyankson thought about what Apis had just said, turned around and left. Tang Mao looked at Apis in confusion. Although she didn't say anything, looking at her expression, she tasted it carefully. This snake woman must be making trouble again. When Apis saw him looking over, she knew it was not good, and turned around and ran. But she reacted quickly, and Tang Mao was even faster, and picked her up casually. Apis, since you want to get all the love of my master so much, I will give it to you tonight. Why bother to make trouble? Tang Mao said, and pinched the little buttocks. The meaning is self-evident. Apis immediately had a pitiful expression, looking at Tang Mao like a little pitiful, and said, I didn't say anything. Well, I believe you, so I will definitely reward you well tonight. Tang Mao nodded in response. Chapter 722. The war is coming. On the morning of the 7th day, Tang Mao took Apis, whose legs were too weak to stand up, back to the contract space, and then went to Mochizuki Chiksun's residence. The temper of the jungler sister only lasted for one night, that's all. Moreover, today is an extremely important day for our, whether the country can be saved or not, it will be today. When the two came to Mochizuki Mingjian's residence, they saw that he had already started to arm himself. You are here. Mochizuki Mingjian just looked back, and continued with the things at hand. Have the support from several continents arrived? Mochizuki Chiksun asked in confusion, when he saw this. No, but I just received an order from the emperor to gather in Tokyo. Mochizuki Mingjian replied. Then why didn't you tell me? Mochizuki Chiksun was stunned and asked. Because from today on, you are no longer a member of the Mochizuki family. Mochizuki Mingjian said very heartless words, but it seemed like an insignificant matter. Mochizuki Chiksun was stunned. Tang Mao asked, is this battle hopeless? 9 deaths and 1 life. Mochizuki Mingjian paused for a moment, then responded. Since you know it's a dead end, why do you still go? Tang Mao asked puzzledly. Because this is my country. Although Mochizuki Mingjian has thought about the fact that support will not come, he has always held a glimmer of hope. However, today when the Emperor of R issued an order for all superclass mages to gather in Tokyo, many people actually understood that the support from the magic associations of several continents would not come at all, and they can only rely on themselves. But even if they launch a forbidden spell formation, what can they do? This battle can be said to be a dead end. Although he loves his country, he will not really be so reckless as to let everyone in the Mochizuki family die. Moreover, there is a reason why Mochizuki Chixon did not go. One point is that she is a woman and can marry another country. After understanding, Mochizuki Chixon immediately refused and said, no, I want to go too. When she finished speaking, she looked at Tang Mao and said, I'm sorry. Don't say sorry, I'll go with you. But it's impossible, I'll take you away immediately. Tang Mao shook his head and said, there is no point in stopping Mochizuki Chixon at this time. Moreover, he also wanted to see how many strong people there are in Japan now. But then again, he didn't expect the other party to summon all the superclass mages to go. If the coastline and land demons launched a full-scale attack at this time, Japan would lose more than just Tokyo. Ding ding ding. Ding ding ding. Before Mochizuki Mingjian could say anything, the phone rang suddenly. Mochizuki Mingjian was a little confused. Who would call at this time? After the call was connected, a smile appeared on his face that originally had no joy. However, neither Tang Mao nor Mochizuki Chixon spoke at this time. Although Tang Mao also learned some Japanese, he was a two-sword flow after all, and he couldn't understand such fast words at all. The most important thing is that there are no subtitles. After they finished chatting, he asked, what's going on? Just now, the Asian Magic Association and the European Magic Association each sent 1,000 mages to come. The leaders are all vice chairman of the Magic Association. Wang Mingjian seemed to see a glimmer of hope and said with a little excitement, oh, it seems that R has not been completely abandoned. Tang Mao muttered. But think about it, since the establishment of the Magic Association, their majesty is almost unchallengeable. Moreover, the magic associations of several continents are the representative forces of mankind. They may not care if a country's city is lost. But if a country is wiped out from the map, if the magic association does nothing, their regime may also be overthrown. Tang Mao asked curiously, do you know who is leading the Asian Magic Association? It seems to be Lord Sulu. Wang Mingjian replied. Tang Mao's mouth twitched slightly. Moreover, I just heard from the above that this support army should also be recruited by Lord Sulu. He is fully committed to helping R get through this. Wang Mingjian said again. Sulu is an old man with great ambitions. In Tang Mao's opinion, he helped R Japan, obviously not for the sake of the people of R Japan. Thinking about his successive failures and the current situation of power, he probably wanted to survive in the face of death, right? Regardless of whether R Japan can be saved, he took the lead to rescue. In the future, his name, Sulu, will probably resound throughout Asia. The most important thing is that this time he chose to take the lead to rescue, which means that the people from the magic associations of the other continents who came here should all be under his command. Tang Mao really doesn't know if the current chief of Asia has been kicked in the head by a donkey? Question mark. This good job was actually given to Sulu. Isn't this helping him? Sulu stood up. Can he still have a good life? Question mark. Why do you seem unhappy? Mochizuki Kyankson was excited and looked at Tang Mao again and said in confusion. She was really happy. After all, this is her country. But Tang Mao's reaction made Mochizuki Kyankson puzzled. I'm not unhappy. It's just because Sulu sees me as a thorn in his side. Tang Mao sighed slightly. Mochizuki Kyankson didn't seem to understand and just looked at Tang Mao eagerly. He didn't explain anything. Anyway, things were already like this. Okay, I'm leaving. Kyankson, you guys stay here. Xuanshao Pavilion needs a superclass mage to take charge. Although the support came, he still needed to rush to the front line. Mochizuki Kyanksen warned, "Be careful. Please come back safely." After Mochizuki Mingjian left, Tang Mao looked at Mochizuki Kyanksen and said, "I'll go there too. Don't you have a grudge against Sulu? What are you going to do now?" Mochizuki Kyanksen asked puzzledly. "It is precisely because of this that I need to strengthen my strength even more. I can't wait for the other party to stand on the top floor again before I work hard to climb up." Tang Mao responded, "No matter who wins or loses, he needs to become stronger. And the best way to become stronger is naturally a lot of spirit. Whether it is the demon in his body or the dark army, they all need spirit to fill. This is the fastest way to improve his strength at present." After saying goodbye to Wangayu Kyanksen, Tang Mao left here. Sulu and his team's goal is very clear, which is to behead the nine-tailed fox emperor. The forbidden spell array completed by the 3 forbidden spell mages before has such power. It is hard to imagine what kind of power the forbidden spells gathered this time will have. This kind of scene can be said to be absolutely rare in 100 years. If you miss it, there will inevitably be regrets in life. Moreover, if you want to become more powerful, you always need to understand how terrifying the real destructive power is. The moment Wangayu Mingjian and several superclass mages left, Tang Mao secretly followed behind. With the cover of the space system and the chaos system, he was not worried about being discovered. After awakening the new system, even if they didn't take care of it, they all reached the intermediate stage in a few days. Although the chaos system is not yet mature, it is almost easy to hide yourself with the other two-dimensional systems. Chapter 723. In this way, Tang Mao followed them all the way to the border area of Tokyo. Here, people from the magic associations of several continents, as well as the strong men of R, have almost all arrived. And as the highest leader of this country, the Emperor of R seems to be licking Sulu as much as he can at this time. Question mark? But think about it, not to mention the current situation, even in the future, Sulu will definitely rise. Although he is the leader of a country, compared with the big boss of a continent, he is just a younger brother. And Sulu is also very approachable. Obviously, the support of a country is still very important to him. As for Wangayu Mingjian and others who came, they can only wait aside. Superclass mages can be said to have no appearance in front of forbidden spells. The magic associations of the 5 continents, including Sulu, have a total of 7 forbidden spell mages who came here, one of whom is from the Holy Court, and another is from the Holy City. In addition, the remaining Emperor of R has a forbidden spell, 2 forbidden spell mages, a total of 9 forbidden spells. Sulu's strength has even reached 3 series of forbidden spells. 9 against 1, and with so many superclass mages, it can be said that, even if it is the Emperor, it feels that humans still have a better chance of winning today's battle. After all, has the nine-tailed fox Emperor been severely damaged? After all the personnel arrived, the Japan military mages who were transferred were led by several military mages to reinforce the coastline. The forbidden spell mages and some superclass mages are responsible for the nine-tailed fox Emperor. As for the mages brought by the army and the magic associations of several continents, they are naturally responsible for the monsters outside other seas. Usually, the forbidden spells are not deployed casually, but today, our Japan is almost going to be destroyed. They have always been low-key, so they naturally can't be indifferent. Tang Mao took advantage of the crowd and mixed into Sulu's team. Although he originally planned to fight to his heart's content, the war between 9 forbidden spells and so many auxiliary mages and the Emperor was obviously more attractive. The previous battles in our Japan consumed a lot of energy, and there were no outstanding combat power bosses. Of course, there may be some who have cast forbidden spells, but have not been recorded. Of course, it does not mean that there are suddenly more forbidden spell mages in this world. It is that the level he has come into contact with has changed. If he and Mo-fan were to track down Seren now, let alone the Emperor, he would not even meet a forbidden spell mages. As for superclass mages, perhaps there are indeed not many in 1 or 2 regions. However, with the gathering of the top leaders of the magic associations of the 5 continents and the call for action in R, superclass mages are like cabbages. After all, this is no longer a problem encountered by a town or a small city. Sulu, who was at the front, looked back at the mighty superclass mages high level mages, and several forbidden spell mages. As the commander-in-chief of this time, he seemed to have returned to the glory before capturing the Black Dragon Emperor. That feeling of pointing the way seems to be now. He came here to fight, and the main reason was that the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor was also an Emperor-level demon. One of his contract positions has been vacant until now. With the help of so many people, it doesn't mean that there is no chance to take down the opponent. If he can get an Emperor-level contract beast, then Sulu will be able to walk sideways in the future. Although there are countless demons along the way, this is the familiar Tokyo. Under their leadership, they easily avoided the demons that were resting in several places. Even if there is no way to avoid it, there are high-level mages and even super-level mages who will work together to annihilate it. The surroundings of the Fox Emperor's resting place are naturally guarded by tribes with monarchs. This battle will definitely attract the attention of the opponent, and it is obviously impossible to sneak in secretly. Seeing this, Sulu shouted, "Don't hide your breath. Go straight to where the demon fox is. Everyone present, whether it is a super level magician or a high level magician. Behind them are either winged magic tools or wind wings, and they are lifted into the air in an instant. Most of the people here are elites from the magic associations of several continents. Although winged magic tools are very expensive, as a continent level elite team, how can they not have this equipment? Forward." After Sulu finished speaking, everyone flew towards the target area. When they arrived at the center, there were only a few forbidden spells and more than 10 superclass mages left. At least Tang Mao and his group were naturally assigned to resist the demons coming here. If he didn't want to fight Sulu now, he naturally chose to obey the arrangement. However, in the battle here, Tang Mao only used the wind system to deal with it. There was no way. The output of thunder, fire, and ice was too much, and it was easy to be discovered. Before seeing this war, he didn't want to expose himself too early. And space, shadow and summoning, let alone. It can't be used at all. As for the light system, chaos system, and sound system, they are still only younger magic, and there is no way to use them. So, he can only use the wind system to fight. Although the wind system is not very destructive, most of the demons in this area still died in his hands. Because every time he took action, he targeted those demons that were bombarded and injured by other mages. He robbed the head and got the residual soul, and then went to help the rest of the mages. In the end, not only did no one blame him, but they all looked very impressed. In such a place, magic power is the foundation of survival. Many of them who were mobilized from the magic associations of various continents actually did not want to spend magic power here to deal with these little monsters. Because if the 9 forbidden spells and the Nine-Tailed Fox Emperor started fighting, those who were here would not have magic power to leave this attractive place, and the ending would be destined to become cannon fodder. So, those who didn't want to die were naturally grateful for Tang Mao's help. After all, it was not their own land. These people had a promising future. Who would be willing to GG their lives here? Tang Mao thought that he had harvested a lot of spirits, and in the end he just needed to make up a knife. These foreigners were so grateful to me one by one. It was not easy to be a bad guy these days. The mages from the magic associations of various continents were naturally top-notch in strength. Even in Tang Mao's opinion, these mages can probably deal with the superclass mages of the same series alone. There are naturally many cross-level battles in this world. After all, if you have a powerful domain, magic tools, and special utensils, this is a great help. Of course, not everyone can do this. After all, it is a big level. How can it be so easy to cross? Chapter 724, Forbidden Spell Battle. After going around in circles, he didn't show any strength, but the demon head did harvest a lot. A large number of residual souls continued to pour into him. Some small demons were really not good enough in front of these people. Even though they continued to appear, no one would treat them as a dish. As for those monarch level creatures, they were also under siege by more than a dozen super level mages. High level mages are not simple, and so are super level mages. Normally, these magic elites can almost challenge some monarch level creatures alone. Although they cannot win, they will not die. And now there are several monarch creatures here. The strongest is only the middle monarch level. Maybe there are higher level ones in there? Just a middle level monarch, maybe 1 or 2 super level mages are not opponents. But more than 10 fight, plus proper cooperation, it is more than enough. It is not easy for Tang Mao to intervene, so he just uses the shadow puppet to leave a wave of dark corrosion when he finds that the monarch can't stand it and wants to escape. Once he is corroded by his own dark power, it can be said that death is only a matter of time. Buzz buzz buzz. Buzz buzz buzz. When he had just completed a few corrosions, the battle began in the place where the previous forbidden spells had rushed to. Is the power beyond cognition displayed? At that moment, the whole area was shaken by space. The 9 forbidden spell mages seemed to have taken action. After the vibration, even if it was dozens of miles away, it was immediately visible that the 9 tails were shaking in the sky. The sky over there also changed greatly. It seems to be about to start. Everyone be careful. If you find something wrong, stay away from this place as much as possible. Mages who are familiar with the power of forbidden spells have begun to remind everyone. If I wasn't worried about being implicated, I really want to see the battle of forbidden spell mages. Yes. This is a battle at the forbidden spell level. There are also people who are curious about this power and want to learn more about it. After all, for ordinary people, superclass mages are already the limit. Tang Mao did not continue to collect the residual souls and spirits here, but floated to a high altitude. As the saying goes, the higher you stand, the farther you can see. After floating to a high altitude, the battle over there was also in full view. At the second level of the superclass or even the perfect stage, the release of some magic is no longer limited to star tracks, star maps, and constellations. It can be said that these magics are almost at hand, and those 9 forbidden spells, even if they are depicting the Star Palace, are not difficult at all. According to rumors, the 9-tailed fox demon seemed to be injured. However, watching her deal with the 9 forbidden spells with ease, and the terrifying demonic aura emanating from her body, it always feels that she does not seem to be weak? After fighting for a while, several forbidden spell mages also saw it. The opponent's strength has not shrunk at all. It was said before that the 3 Japanese forbidden spells severely injured them, and it seemed more like comforting the local people. Sulu looked at the powerful 9-tailed fox demon in front of him, and he did not feel dissatisfied with being deceived. On the contrary, his eyes were full of greedy possessiveness. Of course, it's not that Sulu covets its body, but the strength of the 9-tailed fox emperor. It would be a waste to seal such a powerful emperor like this. If he can make a contract, then who in the world can be his opponent in a single fight? For now, we can only activate the forbidden spell. Mr. Sulu, please delay it for a while. The Emperor of Ar looked at Sulu and said, the opening of the forbidden spell requires power, and during this period, someone naturally needs to be restrained. This was also something that had been agreed before. Sulu nodded without any intention of refusing. He also knew that, even if he wanted to subdue the demon fox emperor, he had to knock it down first, before he would have a chance. Seeing that several top human mages were accumulating power except Sulu, the 9-tailed fox emperor immediately retracted its tail. Then, a wave of powerful mental interference spread out. Having seen the power of the forbidden spell, how could she allow the other party to cast it again? This powerful demonic power directly awakened several people who had no mental defense methods from their concentration. They looked at the scene in front of them stupidly. Who would have thought that the mental magic of this demon fox was so powerful? 8 forbidden spells were charged, and 4 of them were dissolved in an instant. Let's go together, hold her back, and don't let her continue to interfere. Feeling the impact of the mind, even Sulu was shocked. He knew very well that it was impossible to cause much damage to a demon of this level, unless it was the kind of magic that destroyed some. If she continued, it would obviously not be a good thing for him. While Sulu was directing the other 4 people to take action, he also began to use forbidden spells. Sulu, who had great ambitions, was naturally not bad in strength. At this level of forbidden spells, there were also differences in strength. For someone with Sulu's strength, the forbidden spell could not only be activated by a single person, but also completed extremely quickly. He didn't intend to take action himself. But if he didn't move, the others would have no chance to take action at all. Thunder forbidden spell, divine thunder heavenly punishment. While the 4 forbidden spell mages were trying their best to contain him, the other 4 were still holding back, and Sulu had already completed his magic. Feeling that the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds in an instant, the forbidden spells that were delaying the nine-tailed fox emperor paused. Lord Sulu has taken action. Leave here quickly, a continent-level boss reminded. Upon hearing this, the others also evacuated from here directly. The thunder that destroyed the world began to fall from the sky at this moment. After the flashes of lightning that cut through the space, there was a fierce thunder that rushed towards the nine-tailed fox emperor. The area around here was just the nine-tailed fox emperor's ice realm, but as the thunder continued to fall, it was immediately destroyed and turned into a charred deep pit. The nine-tailed fox emperor also dodged in various ways and even failed to dodge several times. The moment when the white fluffy tail protected his delicate body, it was charred by the thunder. Forbidden fire spell, Purgatory Flame Realm. When Sulu attacked and the nine-tailed fox emperor defended, one of the forbidden fire spells also completed his magic. The sky, which was originally covered with dark clouds and thunder, opened the world of fire from high in the sky without any warning. And the next moment, in the world of fire, the rain of fire that burned everything began to fall continuously. Swish, 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 boom. The target of this rain of fire was naturally the nine-tailed fox emperor. But after all, it was a large-scale destructive magic. Where the rain of fire fell, whether it was a mountain or a building, it was turned into nothing in an instant. With the arrival of thunder and fire, the whole Tokyo was doomed to be destroyed. Even the mages who were dozens of miles away began to evacuate one after another. The destruction of forbidden spells was never that simple. Of course, there were also stupid R-type mages who were still fighting the sea monster without knowing why. When they sensed this terrifying attraction, most people lost the best opportunity to escape. In this world full of thunder, lightning and fire, they almost became cannon fodder one by one. Unfortunately, these little G's were not paid attention to by any forbidden spell. For them, even if some people died, it was just one sentence. The overall situation is the most important thing at the moment. The overall situation naturally refers to the destruction of the nine-tailed fox emperor, the emperor who appeared in the human world. If an emperor-level demon is successfully killed, the authority of the Magic Association of the 5 continents will become even more unchallengeable. After Sulu and another forbidden spell mage output the forbidden spell, the other mages also completed their respective forbidden spells. Originally, the friction of thunder and fire, coupled with the powerful ice demon power of the nine-tailed fox emperor, made the space here unstable. After several forbidden spell mages took action one after another, pieces of space here were shattered. P.S. It's gone tonight. Chapter 725 Nine-tailed Fox. The moment several forbidden spell mages began to exert their strength, even the nine-tailed demon emperor did not dare to underestimate them. However, she did not stand there and passively take the beating. Her huge tail was like a pillar that supported the sky, smashing towards them. Light forbidden spell, Heaven Sad Rainbow. Facing the nine-tailed one, a light forbidden spell mage immediately responded. Rainbow light was like silk, pouring down from the sky. More and more rainbow light silks poured down from an extremely large gate to heaven, forming hundreds of waterfall altars. Each waterfall altar was composed of thousands of pearl rainbow light silks tilted, flowing light and waterfalls, and the rare rainbow after the rain seemed to have become the most common embellishment in the heavenly altar. Hundreds of waterfall altars were filled with a holy light rainbow, which fell down like a light curtain waterfall. However, at the same time, the Fox Emperor's nine-tailed one gathered a powerful extremely cold Yunki. The rainbow waterfall hit down, and the ice tail swung up. At the moment when the two collided with each other, the light forbidden spell that had just been displayed to be so powerful that it was unmatched, did not block the attack of the ice tail at all. Bang! It was at this time that the ice tail directly hit the body of the light forbidden spell mage. The light forbidden spell mage's defense was naturally exerted a lot, but under the full strength attack of the Fox Emperor, he was still like an ant and his life was ended. This was a mage sent by the European Magic Association. Although his strength was not the strongest among these people, he was also a forbidden spell. Who would have thought that even a forbidden spell would still be like an ant in front of the Emperor? Question mark? paralyzed by thunder, and burned by fire. But who would have thought that even so, the opponent could actually kill him? Question mark? The nine-tailed fox emperor was indeed injured. The destruction of the forbidden spell magic, even the emperor's body might not be able to withstand it. But this little injury is really nothing to it. The most important thing is that, after killing a forbidden spell, she changed from her original charming queen posture to a white snow fox. Behind the huge body, the nine tails trembled from time to time. Its body may not be so huge. It can be said that it is not as huge as the pseudo-emperor Jiaohuang that Tang Mao had seen before. However, the moment the huge body moved, even he was a little stunned. This speed is really too fast. In an instant, she appeared above Sulo and others, and then suddenly a waterfall of ice sprayed out of her mouth. Facing the ice waves like a waterfall, several forbidden spell mages each used their greatest means of protection to fight back. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. However, just when they had just blocked this wave of impact, the huge tail attacked again. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The huge tail whipped over, and although several people still blocked it, the huge heavy force seemed to break people's bones. Fortunately, the 8 forbidden spells were not vegetarians, especially after one of them became a corpse. They naturally would not hold back. The powerful magic energy was scattered in the sky above the entire Tokyo, and the space was constantly twisting. Almost all the small demons nearby were swept into it like cannon fodder. The human wizard knew how to evacuate, but this group of demons did not dare to escape. In the world of demons, the existence of the strongest, their lives are completely commanded by the other party. The nine-tailed demon fox did not let them leave, so how could they dare to move? Tang Mao felt a powerful suction, and watched the battle over there. When it was 9 against 1, one died, and 8 against 1 still had a suppression phenomenon. Especially after the other party transformed into its true form, it could still suppress people. What a wonderful creature. In less than half an hour, the entire Tokyo was completely destroyed by powerful magic and demon magic. At this time, Tokyo was like a barren land. The battle between the two sides still had no intention of stopping. As for the mages who were responsible for dealing with the demons here before, they had already retreated to a far distance. The war between the forbidden spell and the emperor was not something they could participate in. As for the demons who rushed over, they didn't have to worry about it. In that area, as long as the top supreme monarch did not appear, there was nothing to worry about. Because once in contact with that area, even monarch level creatures would turn into dust in an instant. At this moment, the sea lions in various parts of R are also in constant war, but no matter who knows, the real victory or defeat is still here. If the nine-tailed demon emperor is not annihilated or repelled, the armies in other places will still lose the courage to fight, even if they withstand the first wave of offensives. If the emperor does not die, the demons can come again. It was almost meaningless for them to persist. Several forbidden spell mages had already started to use the magic array while defending. Fighting alone, the war between human forbidden spell mages and emperors, relying on personal bravery, naturally had no chance of winning. If they fought in groups, they would still not gain any advantage in front of the opponent's powerful defense system. And the main reason why no demon emperor came to provoke humans for so long was because people were kind and wise. Fighting on their own, several people might not have any powerful output, but with the help of the magic array, it would be a different story. Even if it was not the same forbidden spell, with the help of the magic array, the power was like the wrath of the gods. With one move, the area within a radius of dozens or even hundreds of miles was cleared. Although the lethality was great, the destruction caused to the entire Tokyo was also relatively huge. However, at this time, no one cared whether Tokyo was destroyed or not. If the nine-tailed fox emperor cannot be killed today, not only will the entire country be ruined, but the impact will probably be on the entire world. When an emperor appears, a country is destroyed. And there is more than one emperor in this world. The impact of this war is so huge that even Tang Mao did not expect that the battle here actually affects more than just our country. Even China has also suffered a great impact. Boom. Boom. A huge energy burst, and the mushroom clouds that can be seen at any time in the place where the battle takes place rise to the sky from time to time. The huge body of the nine-tailed demon fox is also covered with scars at this time. Even her 9 tails have been cut off 3. Of course, it is not just itself that is the first to create it. Even several forbidden spell mages are also injured at this time. The extremely cold ice attribute erodes the body. Even if it is not poison, it has become poison. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.